They're down at 12. Rodgers, time runs out. Ball is out. It's picked up by the Texans and Sheldon Rankins. And he is in for a touchdown. Here's an interception for good measure. It's picked off by Bullock. And Rodgers is in his way, trying to make the tackle. Can't. And it's a touchdown, Texan.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. That went as expected last night. BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN, audio courtesy of ESPN.
The outcome was as expected. I don't know how we got to the outcome wasn't expected.
I mean, that defense is outstanding. And Aaron Rodgers wanted no part of it last night. For about a half, the Steelers actually played pretty well. I'll give them credit because they made that thing an absolute mess to watch. And that was the ideal scenario for Pittsburgh. They wanted it to look like a slogfest. Then you get into the second half, and they had no more answers. That was it. They had 30 minutes of football in them, and they said, you know what, let's go ahead and pack up and go home here. And it was a mirror image of basically every Steelers playoff game in the last decade. This is just who they are. They're good enough to get into the playoffs and never good enough to do anything beyond that. Honestly, they are the NL Central of the NFL. They are perfectly symbolic of what the Reds and the Cardinals and the Cubs, all these different teams across the Central Division, the Steelers are that, but in the NFL. And we all knew it all year long, and we all watched it, and we all waited for it, and last night it paid off. And I got to tell you, Alex, I celebrated every second of it. I loved it. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Aaron Rodgers, the fact that the final throw that he will attempt in the NFL was a pick six. Oh, chef's kiss. Loved it.
That wasn't even the part that I enjoyed the most. I enjoyed the press conference afterwards for how pissy he was. Something just right about Aaron Rodgers going off into the sunset, all doom and gloom and so angry. It just felt a little good to me for some reason.
I enjoyed every second of it.
Sometimes when you're a pissy individual for every day of your life, it's good to end it that way.
I was more frustrated the fact the game became more about Aaron Rodgers' send-off than the Texans dominating, kicking the crap out of them.
There was no other narrative to have.
Opportunities to talk about the Texans. I thought they were correct in doing it that way. Like, Rodgers is one of... I've got my frustrations with Aaron Rodgers. Don't get me wrong.
Pick that up.
That guy's one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen play the
He's
game.
a Hall of Famer.
Oh, I agree.
First ballot, like, Mount Rushmore quarterback that I personally, in my lifetime, have seen play the game. Yep, for me, it's Manning, Brady, Mahomes, Rodgers. Those are the four. The best that I've seen do it.
Disrespect for Josh Allen. How could you?
I mean, Rodgers
Let's just make 5 on the Mount Rushmore.
Rodgers was Mahomes before Mahomes. Now, he didn't have the winning that Mahomes has on his resume. But the way that he plays the game, dude, it was special early on in his career. T-Bone, do you remember their Super Bowl? Were you old enough at that point in time to really kind of understand what you were watching?
I remember him being good in Green Bay, but I can't really recall that.
What's funny about that Super Bowl is I remember Charles Woodson coming up with massive plays just as much as I remember Aaron Rodgers. Like, I remember their defense being elite just as much as their offense was elite.
Their defense was outstanding, but they had a bunch of guys on the offensive side of the ball that were on IR. They went on this crazy run, and then the next year he was even better. I think they went 15-1 the following season,
Jordy
and Rodgers
Nelson
was playing some of the best football that I've ever seen at the position. So my frustration with Rodgers has really been late career Rodgers. He was my favorite quarterback to watch in the league for 5 to 7 years. And for him to go out that way last night is honestly kind of sad in a lot of different ways. I don't really like the guy, and so I enjoyed watching it. But for an all-time great to go out that way, it's a reminder, it normally does not go well at the end for these all-time great quarterbacks. Typically, that's kind of what it looks like. It was that way for, forgot about this. That's the way that it went for Brett Favre. Mm-hmm. His final game looked a lot like that, where it was over.
It was with the Vikings, wasn't it?
Yeah. Is that the Bounty game where he got crushed by the Saints, if I remember correctly, where they had the hits on him? Or am I thinking of a year prior?
He threw a pick six to end his career, if I remember correctly. I think it was in overtime, wasn't it?
Grasshopper.
I don't remember. I do remember him kind of.
It was the Saints game in overtime.
So
yep.
was
that
that
was
one.
the Bounty Gate game.
I mean,
It wasn't a pick six, but he did give up the interception to basically seal that game.
Yeah, I remember him getting crushed in that football game.
I mean, in all fairness, too, like the Steelers didn't have the best roster around him either. I mean, you had DK Metcalf and Gainwell. That was your two weapons. Your offensive line was not great to protect Aaron Rodgers, who, let's be honest, he's not a mobile guy anymore. And then on top of it, your defense underperformed this season. So, I mean, in all reality, they were a kick away from being eliminated from the playoffs. And we were talking Aaron Rodgers' season ending in the regular season because the Baltimore Ravens kicker missed it. That put the Steelers in the playoffs. That's why I never had any hope or expectations that they were getting past the first round. But, I mean, if you're Aaron Rodgers, yeah, I mean, it's a dud of a way to go out. But it was also a dud of a team around Aaron Rodgers. So it sucks to see it end this way, but it kind of ended the way I expected it to, and what we've seen for the last couple of years with Rodgers, whether it was with the Jets or now with the Steelers. He's not the guy that carries everyone else or picks everybody else up and carries them across the threshold. He's the guy that needs a roster to do that, and he's been on two bad teams that can't do it.
So that's the team that lost.
I'll say part of it also, by the way, his doing, because he's the one who wanted to build those rosters around him.
You chose
let's bring my best friends with me. Okay, but they're kind of old and washed up like you, Aaron. So, like, we can do this, but we're not going to be very good.
And your one best friend didn't even want to be there anymore, and he went to the Rams.
Oh, yeah, Devontae?
Yeah, he went there into the Jets, and that was a awful experience, and then left.
Yeah, Devontae, after his game the other day, said some teams are back home watching like the Jets. Meanwhile, we're still playing.
Surprised
you really didn't like that time with New York.
I'm surprised the Jets are the ones that you're sour with, not with the Raiders, who literally almost got him killed on the field.
Yeah, he really wanted out of that situation as well. Very
Play with your college roommate.
All right, so the Steelers are done. We'll talk about them a little bit more as we go along today. I think it's time for a full reset there. I think Mike Tomlin's a really good football coach. I think it is time for them to go their separate ways. The Steelers they probably need to go like 6-11 next year. And just get their answer at the quarterback position, finally figure out, okay, what's the plan beyond this season? Can we please stop going all in to go 9-8? They basically need to do what the Cardinals have done. It's finally time. We've done this for 20 years. Can we please go in a new direction? Meanwhile, on the other side of things, the Texans won last night 30-6. How you feeling about them after that win?
Honestly, if you would have told me they won 30-6 and I turned it off in the third quarter, I would have said you're lying to me, because that was embarrassing. But it also matched the narrative of what I thought the Houston Texans are going to look like. You were going to have an elite defense that the Steelers were not going to score any points on, and your quarterback needs to make one play for you. That's all you need. All you need from C.J. Stroud is you make one play. I've made the comparison before. It's like having a hot goaltender going into the playoffs. Score one goal. Score one goal, and your goalie's got you the rest of the way. That's what the Texans team is right now.
I don't trust the Texans. And it's not because I don't like their defense, because the defense is great. Now, I think it looked way better because it was against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but it's still a good defense. I don't trust Stroud, man. He was awful in that football game last night. I get it. He threw for 250. He had a touchdown. Guys, he fumbled 5 times while also throwing a pick, and he lost 2 of those fumbles. He's the reason that was a close football game for how ugly it was.
Yeah, but you know what? With that defense behind you, you can make mistakes like that.
I don't know that you can if you go up against a better football team. Like Josh Allen, like if they ran into Buffalo, Allen would make enough plays. New England, Drake May might be able to make just enough plays to take advantage of the 3 turnovers that C.J. Stroud had. I agree. The Texans' defense will keep them in every football game. But at some point, C.J. Stroud's going to have to play better, or they will be going home with this great a defense.
And I think that's the Bills. I don't think that's the Patriots. Now, I was the one that said the Patriots are going to win their first game, but I do think the Patriots are going to have some growing pains when you take that defense on with a young quarterback. The Bills are the one that will exploit that, because for how great your defense is, all they got to do is score one.
I think they're winning next week, the Texans. That defense is, in my opinion, the best thing anybody has going for them right now. I don't think any offense in the league that remains is better than that Texans defense, and I think they have the best defense. I think they are better than the Broncos. I think they are a little better than the Seahawks as well. I think the Seahawks would be 2 on that list for me. Texans would be 1. That pass rush is unbelievable. I mean, it is.
Still think that was a good trade by the Texans to trade up and get Will Anderson?
They were right. I was wrong. That guy is a superstar, man. I mean, he's a special talent. And then you watch the post-game interviews. He has a magnetic personality, and I totally understand how he could win over a locker room like that. Mm-hmm. So I'm in. I'm in on him. I'm in on that defense. I think they have a real shot to go to the Super Bowl this year. And none of that is based upon this performance that we saw last night for C.J. Stroud. He was embarrassingly bad. He was horrible. I mean, if you had you watch that performance, but you say it was Trevor Lawrence.
Or Sam Darnold.
Like, yeah, I get that. Or, yeah, Sam Darnold.
That looked like Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
He looked like he was seeing ghosts. It was weird. I haven't seen C.J. Stroud look like that maybe in any moment as a professional. I couldn't believe what I was watching last night, where he just looked completely rattled. And one of the things that I enjoy about C.J. Stroud is how poised he normally looks inside of the pocket. Not once, really up until that fourth quarter, did he have any kind of poise about him. So we'll see if he's able to get things back on track against the Patriots. I think this defense for the Patriots is much worse than what he saw last night. But he's going to need to play better. The Texans defense is a hell of a lot better than what the Patriots saw in the first round, and the Patriots really struggled offensively to get much of anything going against the Chargers. So I think the Texans pass rush will give them some issues. The Patriots will score a little bit because Drake May's just that good. I think this is kind of a classic 20-17 type of a matchup, and I do think that the Texans will win. I've got both of the underdogs. I don't know if underdog. I've got both of the lower seeds advancing in the AFC. I think we'll get a Bills versus Texans matchup in the AFC Championship game this year.
I agree.
And then on the NFC side of things, just as of today, I'm going Seahawks versus Rams. And then ultimately, I've got the Rams versus the Bills.
Well, that's not going to happen. The Rams aren't winning. They'll get there, but they're going to lose to the Seahawks.
If they beat the Bears, I think they get to the Super Bowl. And I know that sounds like an easy thing to say because then there's only one game left.
You think the Bears are a bigger challenge than the Seahawks?
I do. I mean, they've matched up very well with Seattle. I mean, they should have won that game on Thursday night if it wasn't A, for a weird 2-point conversion, and B, Darnold didn't play well for 3 quarters. Of the 8 quarters that they've played Seattle in this year, Darnold did not play well in 7 of the 8. So I do.
You go back to last year, he was also awful. Different team, I understand, for Darnold, but he was awful in that last game against them as well.
Yeah, and then I look at the 49ers, and look, they were a fun story, but if they somehow beat the Seahawks, I'm still going to be picking the Rams. I think the Bears are a bigger challenge. Caleb Williams can do some special stuff with his arm, as we saw. And I think the bigger issue for the Rams will be if Monangai and DeAndre Swift just bulldoze them. I think they're going to run the ball on them. So, yeah, I think the Bears are a bigger challenge for them than either of the other 2 teams on the other side of the bracket.
I've got Bears and Seahawks going to the NFC Championship, and I have the Seahawks winning.
I like it.
And then it's Bills versus Seahawks in the Super Bowl.
The path is there for Seattle.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure you could have constructed a better path for them because the 49ers just can't stop them. That defense, I understand what happened in the first round. The Eagles just weren't prepared to do anything. Seattle's offense should be able to take advantage of that, and they're at home. I think they will. The tougher matchup will be whoever they face in the NFC Championship game, whether it is the Bears or the Rams. That'll be the tough one.
There's not a great defense outside of Seattle left in the playoffs. On the NFC side, excuse me.
I was about to say,
on the NFC side.
Were you here for the first 12 minutes of this segment?
No, what are we talking about?
Yeah, I don't know if you were here or not.
I misspoke.
In
on
the
NFC,
NFC, there are 2 teams that remain
on the NFC side.
Exclusively because of their
You were in the show prep meeting, man. We talked about this.
No, I misspoke. There's not another good defense left in the NFC outside of Seattle.
I agree with that.
Because, like you said, I mean, Darnold could play well against San Fran, the Rams, and the Bears. Meanwhile, if they were on the AFC side of things and you flip them with, say, the Bills, for example, okay, how's he going to look against the Broncos? Probably not good. If you're into the Texans, probably not good.
Splashback Deuce said this on the YouTube chat. I'm glad somebody else noticed it. Anybody else have a hard time not just staring at 6'8", 380-pound Trent Brown every time that he on the Texans? Jesus, that's a big human. Every time he walked onto the football field, I was like, why is that guy so much bigger than everybody else? You've been around these guys before, Alex. They're all large human beings.
Oh, yeah.
You go stand next to an NFL starting quarterback, and you're like, oh, my God, you are huge.
I remember Sam Bradford walked off the field, and I'm like, oh, my
Dude, they're all like 6'5", 220, and you realize when you stand next to them how large of a human being that is. And then you see those large humans next to Trent Brown, and he dwarfs all of them. It's crazy. But so, yes, I felt the exact same way. Last thing here before we get to the Cardinals on the other side from the 3-1-4, is there a truly balanced team that remains in the playoffs? They added offenses without defenses include the Rams, Bears, and Bills. Defenses without the offense, though, include the Patriots, Seahawks, Texans, and Broncos. I would throw the 49ers into that category of offense without the defense. I would say the most well-balanced
Seattle,
team remaining. Yeah, if you can trust Darnold at Seattle.
And it's not like take the trust factor away. If you're going off of regular season, the most balanced team, I have to say, would be Seattle.
I think it might be the Patriots.
Yeah, but
their defense has had holes and warts this season.
It's fine. It's merely fine. So, yeah, if you are a believer in Sam Darnold, the most well-balanced team is Seattle.
If you don't believe in Sam Darnold, it's probably New England.
God bless the NFC this year, because even if you don't trust Sam Darnold, you got a chance. I like this one from Mahomes' long body. I have futures with Bills and Texans to win the Super Bowl, and I feel personally attacked with BK liking those teams.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, me too, Mahomes. Yeah. Me too.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, it is 11:19. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. In 15 minutes, we'll talk to our guy, Jeremy Rutherford, Blues insider for The Athletic. We'll ask him about his perspective on last night's Blues Hall of Fame announcements. Really cool scene there. Brett Hull getting emotional as they're introducing things.
I have a little news for you.
Yep.
From Katie Wu. Let me double check. This is actually Katie Wu. Arizona Diamondbacks are in serious discussions to acquire third baseman Nolan Arenado from the Cardinals. Multiple sources have told The Athletic.
Ha-ha! Bam, T-Bone! Bam!
It's not done yet.
Bam!
Well, they also found somebody who wanted him. The whole point from us is nobody wanted him. I'm surprised they found him.
We'll talk about this next year on 101 ESPN. With Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Big news from Katie Woo over at The Athletic. Our friend, former Cardinals insider, now writing about the Dodgers.
Thanks for bringing that up.
The Arizona Diamondbacks, according to Katie Woo, are in serious discussions to acquire third baseman Nolan Arenado from the Cardinals. That is according to multiple sources. Now, let's talk about this real quick. This doesn't get out from Katie Woo unless it's basically going to happen. When it gets to this point, it means they are at the finish line and I's need to be dotted and T's need to be crossed. But otherwise, I would assume, based upon this report from Katie Woo, Nolan Arenado is almost certainly going to be a member of the Arizona Diamondbacks. And I told you, T-Bone, that it was going to happen. I told you, man. They could not go into this season with that guy on the roster. They could not do it. I don't care what they get back. They could include every penny on his contract other than 1 cent. And in return, they get nothing more than future considerations.
Oh, I was thinking Corbin Carroll's coming back the other way.
And that's fine. This is not about the return. It is not about the money. It is about that guy can't be here anymore. And if you're the Diamondbacks, dude, why not take a shot on it? Like, he's a good defender still. He does bring value in that regard. If I'm a contender and I don't have any other options really at the third base position, and I need somebody to play it next year, and I'm willing to go on the cheap, and I've got a good clubhouse, I'd go get him. Fine, whatever. Like, it's not going to cost me a whole lot. It's not as though I've got to go spend a bunch of capital, either money or prospect-wise, to acquire him. It's a fine move for Arizona, and for the Cardinals, it is a necessary move. So I'm really glad that it appears they're going down this path. I'm thrilled that they found a legitimate suitor. It's also, by the way, a great landing spot for Nolan Arenado. You couldn't have asked for anything better. You're going to a spot where you're a potential contender next year. You're not going to be counted upon to be the guy in that lineup.
Ballpark.
And I've also heard that it's just a fun, I mean, Joey has told numerous stories about how incredible it is to live in Arizona.
You're not all that far away from home. He's back closer to the West Coast. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think they do spring training in Arizona, I would imagine. And there's great golf out there. Nolan Arenado, avid golfer as well. So, like, there's a lot of positives that have come from this kind of a deal. But the biggest thing to me, thank God they were able to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, that is the only thing that really matters in this, that they were able to get it done. One, just for Nolan Arenado's sake, and two, for the Cardinals' sake, to just finally rip that page out of the book and throw it away. And it sounds super negative, but, man, it would have been so much worse if this narrative continued this season of Nolan Arenado's here, we're going to try and move on from him, and we'd all act as if, well, Nolan Arenado's a professional, and he's a Hall of Famer, so let's act like he'll help the team. No, they needed to make sure that the playing spots were available. They needed to make sure that the runway was there for Gorman, for Weatherholt, for Sajaci, for all of these guys. So you needed to make it happen. My only hesitancy with this, which is why I told BK he was going to be back, which he's not. We were wrong, T-Bone. Was that I didn't know if they'd find a team that would want Nolan Arenado that he would agree to. And Arizona is the one that shows up because, frankly, I never had them on my bingo card. I thought it was going to be teams like the Angels or teams like the Pirates or the Rockies again. But you get a team that pops up. This is great for both sides.
Our secondary topic in this segment was supposed to be, are the Red Sox the best landing spot that remains for Nolan Arenado?
No, Arizona would be my pick.
I agree with you.
That would be my pick.
I'm in full agreement. I didn't think there were many landing spots that remained. We had talked about what was going to take place with Arizona because they were at least in conversations about the potential Alex Bregman market. So they make sense. I just didn't think they would go this direction. I'm glad they did, though.
Yeah, I now thinking about all the reports that have come out of Arizona, and now kind of feels like I should have seen it coming moment, because you're right. I mean, when you send this trade, the Cardinals are basically going to probably cover most of his salary for the remaining of his contract, so they're getting him for nothing. They're probably sending nothing but either cash considerations or a player to be named later would be my guess what they're going to do, kind of like what the Fowler deal was when the Cardinals shipped him off to the Angels. And the whole point of the Diamondbacks being in on Bregman, I thought their pivot would be Suarez. But if you think about what we had heard, well, how do they sign Bregman? Well, they've got to trade Marte. Oh, so in other words, they were money in, money out. Mm-hmm. And what is this? It's not really money in, and there's no money going out. So it ends up being the perfect move for Arizona. We'll see how much he really helps him at this point in his career. But yeah, Heim had to make this move happen. And the reason that I said I wasn't certain that it was going to happen was it was just there was limited number of matches available for him, right? Because like you brought up the Angels. Okay, that's great. The Angels may have had interest. How much did Arenado really want to go there? Yes, it's closer to home. but they're not a team that's going to be winning. And that seems to be what he really wants to do at this point in his career. Arizona gives him a shot at that. They will be at least a contender to be a playoff team next year.
I hope he goes on to have success there. It didn't work out here. It's best for everybody to go their separate ways. He had one unbelievable season with the St. Louis Cardinals. But beyond that, his playoff performance was not good enough for this team to be able to have any success there. And it just didn't work. It didn't work the way that anybody expected. Alex was the biggest advocate of trading for Nolan Arenado, and I think you've even soured on the experience.
I mean, look, to me, it was a failure because I thought Nolan Arenado was going to come here and make this team a World Series contender, and he did not live up to the expectations in the postseason, just like I could say the same thing about Paul Goldschmidt. The MVP was great in the regular season, but the postseason is what matters in St. Louis, and if you can't perform there, it's hard to get excited about it. With that all being said, I still loved the experience of Nolan Arenado because it took me back to my childhood of getting to watch Scott Rowland man third base. And let me tell you, from Troy Gloss to Matt Carpenter, it was not fun for a while without Scott Rowland. So to get back to having a elite defender at third base, one of my favorite positions to watch perform, that was still fun for me. But in all reality, it was a failure for the Cardinals.
News to pass along from Jeff Passan as well. The Giants, according to Jeff Passan, are aggressively pursuing a second baseman. They have been engaged with Chicago on Nico Hoerner and St. Louis on Brendan Donovan. He adds an infield of Chapman, Adames, Donnie, or Hoerner, and Rafael Devers could be among Major League Baseball's best. That is a team that we've discussed in the past. It seems as though the infield market is really starting to move. You see that with Arenado here. We've already seen Bregman sign with the Chicago Cubs. It sounds as though Bo Bichette, the leader in the clubhouse, so to speak, appears to be Philly. We'll see what that means for either Stott or Alec Boehm, but there's some real movement here taking place, and it seems like things are starting to heat up on the Brendan Donovan front. I would expect that to come together at some point, probably within the next week, would be my guess.
Yeah.
My assumption is the Cardinals would like to get that thing done before winter warm-up. I'm guessing you probably don't want to have him there and have to answer any of those questions for either party. It's best to get that done.
Yeah, I would expect probably before winter warm-up, you're right, because I don't think Heim wants to address it. I don't think Donovan's on the slate to be there, so I don't think that's much of a worry, but rather than having to answer questions about it, you can make that move now. And now that you've got multiple suitors, it is nice to see some movement across Major League Baseball finally. Apparently, Bregman was the one domino we had to wait for. And it sounds like maybe Bichette, like you said, is to Philly. So everybody's starting to make their pivot moves now. Where everybody else is going to go, I'm interested to see. We haven't heard any reporting on Seattle, what their plans are, because they were the team that was the leader in the clubhouse. And now San Fran comes out of left field, or not out of left field. They were reported originally, but sounds like they're ready to pivot towards that now. So I'm interested to see if they can get Seattle back in on this bidding, and if they can get maybe Boston. Boston just now lost out on Bregman. If they had interest in Arenado, they lost out on Arenado. So what's their pivot now? Are they going to go to try and re-up the ante on Bo Bichette? I don't think they will. If not, then they're going to be looking at Nico Hoerner and Brendan Donovan. So that's another scenario that's played out well for the Cardinals.
There is now a story posted over on The Athletic from Katie Wu. After an extended saga of attempting to trade their cornerstone third baseman, the Cardinals are looking to capitalize on recent movement in the market and are in serious discussions to send Nolan Arenado to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Trading him was certainly not a given. Moving Arenado has been complicated due to the layers. The deal wraps up 15 months of intermittent trade discussions. In other words, this deal is going to get done. So the expectation, Nolan Arenado is likely heading to the Arizona Diamondbacks in a deal.
Tweeted as well, Arenado is expected to waive his full no trade clause.
There you go. So if it's gotten to that point, this thing's done.
T-Bone, make sure we have end of the road ready.
The Cardinals are
time for a eulogy.
The Diamondbacks, according to Alden Gonzalez, indeed close to acquiring Nolan Arenado, as Katie Wu first reported. He is indeed willing to waive his no-trade clause. So there you go. Nolan Arenado expected to head to the Arizona
get the band back
Diamondbacks.
together. Bring Goldie back, man.
Sounds
they got
like they're
a
at
first
least under
base
consideration
open.
to do that.
Yeah, why not? They're going to build the Cardinals and have success with it like we couldn't.
With those guys as platoon bats instead of being
also
3 and 4.
Also,
Ketel Marte, Corbin.
Also, they have Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte. Their pitching staff's pretty good.
Yeah.
So, apples and oranges here, T-Bone.
We had a 40-year-old Albert, though.
Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll get into questions and answers. Jeremy Rutherford, Blues Insider, next here on 101 ESPN. Alex, I advanced about 35% of my best ball teams over on the Underdog app.
Cherry picking.
If you missed on the first round, they typically will right around now, maybe by tomorrow, have best ball playoff returns.
No,
so you
part
can draft
two.
even more teams. Or if your teams all got wiped out in the wild card round, you can draft even more over on the Underdog app. Download it today. Don't forget to use our promo code BKO. If that's not your speed, you don't want to do the fantasy best ball stuff for the postseason, guess what? You can still get in on their classic picks. You can go higher or lower on your favorite players. I right now have a 50% profit boost over there on the Underdog app. Check it out today. See what's available for you.
Put that 50% profit boost in action for a Blues tonight. I like higher saves for Hofer, and I like lower points for Seth Jarvis. Whatever it is, make sure you download the Underdog app today and use promo code BKO to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code BKO. Underdog, make plays, win money. Must be 18 plus and present in Missouri. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Breaking news in St. Louis as Katie Wu first reported and Jeff Passan reports now as well. The Arizona Diamondbacks are acquiring the St. Louis Cardinals third baseman Nolan Arenado as he has agreed to waive his no-trade clause, and the deal is done according to Jeff Passan. And the Blues will be back in action tonight as they host the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll have pregame coverage tonight starting at 5:30 with Alex Ferrario. Puck drop at 6:30 with Chris Kerber and Joey Vitale. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an Icon heating and air conditioning dealer.
We now have the return, according to a longtime Arizona Diamondbacks radio guy.
Let's make sure people know it's not a done deal until it's official, though.
It is done. The Cardinals have traded Nolan Arenado to the Arizona Diamondbacks. In return, they will get Jack Martinez, an 8th-round selection from a year ago, a pitcher. He did not appear in any games last year. He's a righty for the Diamondbacks, but was an Arizona State righty, tops out about 97.
big
has
is
his changeup and a slider as well. 32% strikeout rate in 15 starts in 2025.
How tall is he?
6'4", 215.
Oh,
There you go.
yeah.
So
you know
big
what?
righty with a big fastball.
Round of applause for Heim that he got something in return.
I'm shocked he got a player.
I can't
It's
believe
not
it.
a player to be named later.
Now, probably
Great.
all of the contract was eaten, but still, you got a player back in return.
It's a done deal. The Cardinals are trading now Derek Gould in on this, Nolan Arenado, and cash to the Arizona Diamondbacks. How much of that deal will be
Do you think they
paid down
just
by the Cardinals? I would assume most.
Do you think they just sent the Colorado Rockies check that they got to Arizona and just said, "Here you go, guys"?
All right, now we're going out to the Callier and Thompson hotline, turning our attention to the St. Louis Blues, who are back in action this evening. Blues versus Hurricanes. If you want local coverage of that game, the one place where you can hear it is right here on 101 ESPN, starting today at 5:30. Jeremy Rutherford joining us now via the Callier and Thompson hotline. JR, appreciate the time, man. Last night was a really cool scene for the Blues as they had their Hall of Fame announcements. What was that like for you to cover? I know some of the players that were a part of it, you've seen basically their entire careers or their entire tenure here in St. Louis unfold. So what was that like for you?
It was great, BK. Thanks for asking about last night. You know, this was the fourth annual, a really good thing that Mike Crusoe and the Blues got started. And I've been to 3 of them, and it's the best night of the year. And I know they're getting some good traction now. You know, the first couple of years, they inducted players that had the Hall of Fame honors and numbers in the rafters. And then now they're adding to that group. And what I see is not just the people who are getting inducted coming to town, but everybody's coming to town. And so last night, plenty of memories. We can get into a couple of them, but I think that one that sticks out the most to me is I've heard Brett Hall speak about Kelly Chase 1,000 times. I've never heard his voice crack. And last night, his voice cracked, you know, calling him his guiding light throughout his career. And I'm sure some people have either heard it or seen the clip, but he said that his career, once it started to skyrocket, it could have went a myriad of ways, and Kelly Chase held him in line, and I guess as best as he could. If everybody knows all the stories, maybe didn't hold him too much in line, but about as well as you can hold Brett. So what a great night. The Blues deserve a ton of credit for getting this started a few years ago, and last night was one for the books.
Yeah, I think the line of the night from Chaser was that he he roomed with Brett Hall almost his entire career, and then he corrected himself. He said, well, I think I roomed with his suitcase because he was never in his hotel room.
That's absolutely right. And I didn't want to cut you off. I wanted to say this, Alex. You know, people talk about Brett Hall and the star he was. You know, he would be at the hotel signing autographs, and Bruce Affleck told me this story one time that by the time Brett Hall made it back to his room after signing all the autographs, he had just Sharpie marks all over his white dress shirt. Like the whole front of it was just covered because he was standing out there so long signing autographs. So, you know, what memories those are.
Just one more from that night, Jer, because, I mean, I was the same way. The Chase one for me. I mean, not only Brett Hall getting choked up, but, like, they showed Tony Twist, and he's, you know, kind of teary-eyed sitting in the audience. Garth Brooks the same way. Like, it was a really emotional night, but the part that caught me was just hearing Kelly Chase, Barrett Jackman, Alexander Steen, what it means to embody the St. Louis Blues and wear the blue note and play for a certain way and have a certain style. And I know there were a lot of players in the room for that event last night, and I have to imagine that kind of that sits for a lot of those guys, and it kind of just marinates of them, these players that are some played with these guys or saw them play recently when they were pro players. That resonates for them moving into the rest of the season, wouldn't you imagine?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, the players are, 50 feet away from me at their own table, probably about 10 guys. And I actually, Alex, was thinking about that, exactly what you just said during the ceremony. When you have Gary Unger and Red Berenson up on stage talking about Al Arbor, and he's blocking a Bobby Hall shot, and then he goes in the locker room and he gets his legs worked on, because he's, they're just bruised and battered, and then he goes back out, and here comes Hall, Bobby Hall, and he's blocking another shot. If you're Colton Parayko, if you're Oscar Sundqvist, who do that, by the way, but you got 8-10 players there, how can you not help but hear what these stories were like and what these players went through in their prior careers and what that meant to that team. And guys, I'm not going to do this justice, but I'm going to do my best. I realize that if you go to a Hall of Fame banquet and pick your city, there's the original 6 teams. I'm sure they have, outstanding, ceremonies to honor their organization as well. I've only lived in St. Louis. I was a Blues fan before I became a writer. But when you're sitting in that room and you hear Alexander Steen, Barrett Jackman, the guys you just mentioned, Kelly Chase, Brett Hull, telling these stories, you just can't help but feel the vibe of what that Blue Note means to this culture. And I think Brett Hull said it best. When he tried to put into words Kelly Chase, he said, what I get out of Kelly Chase and my friendship with him is what St. Louis and what the St. Louis Blues mean to him. That's what sticks out the most. So, I'm sure you got the tingly feeling in every, other city, but I don't know how you could top what you see here at this event each year and hear from these players talk about their love for the Blue Note.
Is this something that most of the guys are going to that are currently on the roster? Like, I have to imagine this is something that Braden Shin, Thomas, guys like Jake Neighbors, some of the leadership core. I think you mentioned Colton Parayko, Benner. Those guys are all probably eating this stuff up, right?
I would think so. I didn't get a chance to talk to him. I just saw him. But, yeah, Colton Parayko, Sundquist, Robert Thomas is dinged up. We might talk about that in a minute. So, maybe that prevented him from being there last night. Logan Mayu, another guy, Jake Neighbors for sure. There was a good cast there at the table.
So kind of moving to this Blues team, JR, and I asked the question that I did, and you had the same thought, which makes me feel good about myself. But, hearing all of these guys, specifically Jackman and Steen talk, and I forget who talked about it in the crowd, but somebody mentioned, it was Steve Ott, and he said, look at the banners up on the wall, and he said, look at their eyes. It was just a hard sense of playing the game a certain way. There was a young core and audience with that one, like you said, with Neighbors and Mayu and some of these younger guys that are going to be taking over the team. That's what really feels like it's been lacking this season, that drive, that intensity that the Blues just don't have night in and night out. And I don't know if a Hall of Fame ceremony is going to provide that, but at some point, that's what they're going to have to find in their game, wouldn't you say?
JR, it's so weird. They found it last year.
For
we
2
talked
months.
so much about how that was the thing that changed, and now it's gone again.
Yeah, I don't have the answer for that part. It's I know that it's hard to maintain, and if you lose it, it's hard to get it back. I thought that was a tremendous observation by Steve Ott. To listen to each speaker, you just hope to get one unique takeaway. And Alex, that was my takeaway from what Steve Ott said. He said, look at the banners right there. And I looked up at them, and you look at Jackman and the picture of him and the picture of Alex Steen, and you look right into their eyes, and it just looks like they want to win that hockey game. And there is nothing that is going to get in their way from at least trying to win the hockey game. And they might not. But I think you're right, BK. We did see that after the Four Nations last year. It has disappeared. They're going to have to turn over the roster. They're going to find some new players who, maybe in 20 years there'll be a banner up on stage with a picture of those and those eyes that we're talking about. But, I think there's some players on this roster who fit that description, like a Braden Shen, but under these circumstances, it's just hard to get the rest of the team on your shoulders and try to push forward in that direction when, for whatever reason, it's just not there this year.
Jeremy Rutherford, our guest for just another minute or two here on 101 ESPN. JR, final question that I've got for you. You mentioned Thomas, and he's banged up right now. It seems like Bukestad probably back into the lineup tonight. What can you tell us is the latest on the Blues injury report?
Yeah, just a couple guys. Thomas did not skate yesterday, and I thought it was interesting. Jim Montgomery, who has said that Thomas was taking a few maintenance days here recently, did not come out yesterday and say, but he'll be in the lineup tomorrow. And I said, so is he iffy? And he said that he's probable/questionable. So it looks like he will not play tonight. He did kind of extend his comments and say that, he's got something that they've thought about it. Do they keep him out a little bit before the break? Do they wait until the break? Does he need some work done? I think that's going to be something they continue to monitor with Robert Thomas. But he's out tonight. Good timing. Nick Bukestad comes back. No official word on that, but I think that was a concussion just by the way that the team talked about how, his progress back and forth. And so he's going to be on that third line tonight, centering. Looks like Berggren and Buchnevich, the Blues, according to Jim Montgomery, 6 straight games with the same line combinations, but they've seen some players fall into some tendencies that they didn't like, and so they're going to mix things up a little bit. And you're going to see, as we've seen in the past, some veterans playing with some young guys on each of the top 3 lines, and that 4th line that will be the same.
JR, final one from me. This whole season, despite the Blues' struggles, it's been a tight Western Conference that has kept them into hockey games. They've lost 3 in a row. You've got Carolina tonight, and then you've got Tampa Bay. You've got Edmonton coming up. Do you believe this is where the season starts to get away from the Blues and it starts to kind of extend that gap?
Yeah, I think we saw that on this last road trip. Not to say that if they would have won all 3, all of a sudden the Blues are back in this thing. It's just that the fact that it was the opposite, they lose all 3, just kind of underscores, I think, what people who are making these decisions think about what the next couple months are going to look like leading up to the trade deadline. And, oh, by the way, it doesn't help the Blues that it's Carolina tonight. Jim Montgomery just said this is the best offense he's seen from Carolina in a long time, and their forecheck is just tenacious, and they're going straight to the net with everything. And then, who comes to town Friday? Tampa Bay. Despite all the injuries they've had, guys, 10 in a row. So a 10-game winning streak for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Doesn't get any easier this week for the Blues.
JR, appreciate the time as always, man. Thanks so much for hopping on with us and giving us your perspective on last night's festivities and what lies ahead for the Blues. We'll talk with you again next Tuesday, my friend.
Yep. I was bummed out that you saw the Katie Wu tweet. I was going to break the Nolan Arenado news to you, but I guess you saw that.
Yeah, sorry, man.
All right, thanks, guys.
Appreciate you, JR. That's Jeremy Rutherford joining us as always here on VK and Ferrario. Some updates, by the way, on that front.
Yeah, it's official now.
It is officially official. The Cardinals have tweeted it out. Nolan Arenado traded to the Arizona Diamondbacks. In return, they will get right-handed pitcher Jack Martinez, an 8th-round selection in last year's Major League Baseball draft. We now also know how much money the Cardinals are sending with Arenado. It is significant. They are sending $31 million out of the $42 million remaining on Arenado's deal. So the Diamondbacks will only have to cover $5 million this year, $6 million next year. So basically a 2-year, $11 million deal for Arizona. Good business if you can get it if you're them. The Cardinals are sending out a boatload of money this offseason to cover some of their players. Jeff Jones tweeting this out moments ago on where they rank. The Cardinals are sending out $41 million in net cash this offseason. It is the second most of any big league team dating back to 2020, only behind the 2024 Mets, who sent out $65 million to trade away Scherzer and Verlander at that year's deadline. So Cardinals sending out serious money to get better returns prospect-wise for some of these players. Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line. Questions and answers coming up next here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here, and the NFL playoffs are underway, and DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Looking ahead to this weekend, the divisional round's going on, and I like the Houston Texans on the money line at plus 145, and I'm going with a Woody Marks anytime touchdown score as well. And with DraftKings, they have early exit protection for you this postseason, so if you have a player in your eligible NFL prop bet like I do, and a Woody Marks anytime touchdown, if he goes down at any point in the first half, you still get paid in win cash. With DraftKings, you're covered through the entire half. So why bet your player props anywhere else? And they've also got great live betting options for you throughout the NFL postseason that I've been taking advantage of all postseason long and in the hockey season as well. So download that DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code TANNER. That's code TANNER to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Additional terms at dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
Three 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and get them in right now. From the 573, guys, I'm not asking you to predict who will win the Super Bowl, but of the remaining teams, who would you most like to see win the Super Bowl this year? So who are you rooting for?
Bills. I want to see him win. I want Josh Allen to get his due because I feel like people don't talk about him because he doesn't have the Super Bowls or he doesn't have the same amount of MVPs like Lamar Jackson has. I want him to get his due, and I think he deserves it.
I think the most fun Super Bowl would be Bills versus Bears. Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson, two fan bases that haven't experienced a whole lot of success at the highest possible level in the last, 25 years. Basically, in Tanner's lifetime, these teams have not had much success to speak of. I think that would be best case scenario. And can you imagine that Super Bowl? Those fans for both teams would go nuts that week,
so many tables are going to be broken.
So, yeah, that is the Super Bowl that I'm rooting for. If I had to root for one team to win it this year, it would probably be the Bears. Because what a story that would be with Ben Johnson coming in and immediately having this success. It would be kind of similar to what Sean McVay did with the Rams.
I think they got to suffer a little bit longer. The Bills suffered pretty long.
I don't know.
Bears got to suffer a little bit longer.
Yeah, I'm going Bills. Yeah. That'd be the one for me because I think you're right.
Seahawks would get some nice.
Who's the least exciting team to potentially win?
Seattle. I don't know why, but they're just defense first. It's Sam Darnold. I don't want to watch them get to the Super Bowl and win it.
Yeah. That's probably my answer too.
I mean, JSN's a really good player.
I like their defense.
I don't really have like a strong tie to any of their individual players. I think their coach is a good coach, but I don't have like a personality draw.
I think mine would still be the Rams. I don't want to see him win.
I really like this Texans defense. They're a lot of fun to watch. I like D'Amico Ryans. The Patriots, I love Drake May. T-Bone, you know how much I loved him last year, and you told me how terrible he was, so that'd be fun.
Yeah, don't listen to T-Bone. He thought Mac Jones was still the best quarterback.
Broncos would be a tough hang, too.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of Sean Payton.
That's mine.
Bo Nix does nothing
See,
for me.
I didn't even remember they were in it because I don't like that team. I'm done with Bo Nix. No. That team would be the most insufferable.
Yeah, they're definitely up there. And they've got, no great playmakers. Right? Sutton's fine. He's not anything special. At least the Seahawks have JSN.
And even on defense, they're an excellent defense, don't get me wrong. This is not me diminishing what they've accomplished. They just don't have a ton of guys that are household names. Basically just Surtain. He's really the one guy.
Yeah.
So even on that side of things, it's not overly exciting. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. From the 618, Walker, Newt, and Scott have not earned guaranteed starting spots. Do you think that the Cardinals would bring anybody in to push them for a spot in the outfields?
No. I think they're guaranteed a spot because this is a rebuild.
Yeah.
Man, it's going to take some time to adjust to this, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, Vic Walker, Scott, Newt Bar, that's your outfield.
Yeah, and we were just talking about this off air, debating who's going to be their third baseman, and it's not like it was great choices.
Yeah,
I think I would personally go with Thomas Saggese. I think he's the better defender between he and Nolan Gorman, and you can still get Nolan Gorman into the lineup as your designated hitter with Ivan Herrera behind the plate, and you don't care about Ivan Herrera behind the plate because you're not trying to win this year.
Are we not putting Weatherholt at third?
Second.
I assume he's second when Donovan gets traded. That's the only reason I didn't throw his name up there.
I thought Weatherholt.
If Donnie's here, then it's all super easy.
Yeah, I just thought
Saggese
Weatherholt
becomes your super utility guy. Gorman's your DH. Donnie's at second. Weatherholt's at third.
I just thought they were going to give Weatherholt a shot at third, but second base would make sense first year at the major league level. But yeah, I don't think Gorman gets that. I think that's Saggese. Plus, if Gorman's in the line, that's a lot of lefties in your lineup. So I would imagine you want to put some righties in there, but maybe you like a lot of lefties. I don't know. I think Gorman's your DH now that Burleson's at first and Herrera's behind the plate.
It's possible. I mean, he's going to be in your lineup one way or the other, and he makes more sense at DH than Saggese because defense / let's just be honest, Gorman profiles more of a DH. Not great defensively, and he hits for, in theory, he hits for power.
From the 636, why not put Walker back at third where he came up playing?
Man, even in a rebuild, people are still bringing this up.
Guys, Walker was never going to play third base at the major league level. The expectation was always that he would have to move to the outfield. It's on the Cardinals for not moving him to the outfield sooner than they did.
But they drafted him as a third baseman, BK.
I know. And Bryce Harper was a catcher. And so was
Mason Wynn was a pitcher.
Yeah. So, guys,
Can we try that?
Oh, God. Stop it!
Generally speaking,
you're an enabler.
There's a flow chart to most of this. Almost every player at the major league level, when they were in high school, they were a shortstop. Because you put your best player at shortstop. And then if they don't work there, you move them to third. And if they don't work there, you either move them to the outfield or second. And if they don't work there, you move them to first. And if they don't work there, DH. There's a flow chart to the way that most of this works in baseball. And the Cardinals used that flow chart appropriately for Jordan Walker. They just waited too long. I will never forget when the Cardinals at the deadline got the news that Arenado would be staying, and they decided to move Walker to the outfield. Somebody asked Mo about Walker and where he would play, and I think the question was so is he going to be right field? Is that kind of what you're thinking? And Mo's response in return was, why not center?
Oh, yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, I forgot about that. I didn't know where you were going, but yeah, I do remember that.
I'll never forget it, man. And I was like, oh, okay, center field.
Freak athlete. Then you watched him.
We saw Walker, and I was like, can you imagine?
Yeah, and then you watch him try to catch a fly ball, and it's like, man, this is brutal and right. Imagine what it would be in center.
Yeah.
Mo.
Yeah, that was rough.
What do you think Mo's doing now?
Sipping Mai Tais.
Yeah, hanging out.
Good for him.
Living his best life.
Realizing that, hey, if I just would have asked ownership, I probably could have looked better to this fan base for a couple of years.
All right, he's Alex. That's T-Bone. I'm BK. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll get into Bet It or Forget It. But next, saw a column today over in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch that Mizzou can't ask Austin Simmons to be the savior. Don't they kind of need to do exactly that? We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN.
Hey, Blues fans, ready to take your excitement to the next level? BetMGM is now available in Missouri, so shoot your shot with an official sports betting partner of the St. Louis Blues. Discover exciting Blues matchups by downloading the BetMGM app and getting instant access to a variety of parlay selection features and live betting options. Enjoy same-game parlays, boosted odds specials, the best daily promotions in the business, and so much more when you sign up. The chase is on for the next Stanley Cup, so get hyped for Blues action all season long with an official sports betting partner of the St. Louis Blues. BetMGM is now available in Missouri. Sign up today. BetMGM. Make it legendary. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. Missouri only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Please gamble responsibly.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. So I opened up the St. Louis Post-Dispatch earlier today, Alex, and I was reading a piece.
Paper or website?
A website. T-Bone's the one of us that uses the paper.
You don't like to get a little ink on your
Yeah, you
on your
don't go to
skin?
your local QT and get your newspaper.
Is that where you get your newspaper from?
Where else are you going?
How often do you actually do this? I'm genuinely curious.
Never. But it makes for a good story.
Ah, man, you exposed the lies on BK and Ferrario.
I definitely would have believed
There
that you
are
do
a
it.
ton of them. We'll let you, the listener, figure them out.
But that ink on the fingers.
My neighbor has it delivered.
Drinking your morning coffee.
My neighbor has it delivered to his house, and he asks if I want it, and I'm like,
Really?
I'm like, I don't want your paper, man. He's like 90 though, so.
So Lynn Worthy wrote, and I really like Lynn. The title of the article, Mizzou needs a fresh start at quarterback, but Austin Simmons should not be seen as the savior.
Oh, here comes BK. Da 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 da. Mizzou boy. Tiger Man.
I agree. In an ideal world, that would be the case. Austin Simmons would just be a piece of the offense and would not be viewed as the savior of the offense. We don't live in that world. We live in a world in which Missouri has struck out on quite a few of their transfer portal additions. And that means the defense is probably going to take a step back next year. You've lost every starter from last year on the defensive side of the ball. Like, that's not me exaggerating. Literally, all 11 starters from the defensive side of the ball are now gone. And they've replaced some of them, but definitely not all of them. So you're going to need the offense to take a significant step forward. You have the same running back as you did a year ago. The offensive line is probably going to be similar to what it was a year ago because you haven't made some huge upgrades there. Wide receiver, maybe you get a little bit better, but I mean, it's kind of similar in terms of the talent that you're bringing in compared to the talent that you lost going out, especially with Kevin Coleman graduating this year. Where is the upgrade coming? I think it's pretty clear. The upgrade has to come from Austin Simmons, the new quarterback that Missouri added out of the transfer portal via Ole Miss. He's got a cannon of an arm. He's got all the athleticism that you could ask for from a quarterback. And he needs to be not just an upgrade from what Bo Pribula and Matt Zollers were this year. If Missouri is going to be in any kind of a real threat to reach, the 12-team playoff or to get to 10 wins next year, they need Austin Simmons to be the one that carries them in 2026. Is that fair to Austin Simmons? No, of course not. Is that what is necessary, though? Yeah. We got to live in the real world, man. And in college athletics in 2026, Austin Simmons is being paid handsomely to be the guy that can be the savior for Mizzou football in 2026 and to be the savior of this offense in 2026. It will be in tandem with everybody else, don't get me wrong. But it's the most important position in all of sports for a reason. That guy's got to be the one that drives the success of the football program next year. So I disagree with the overall premise of this. It would be ideal. It would be great if they didn't need him to be this, but they do because of the way that the portal has gone for them this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. When you read the headline of that, to me, I kind of tilted my head because to sit there and say that he shouldn't be the savior for this team. Read the tea leaves. I mean, they went out there and they got a new offensive coordinator. They went out there and got an offensive assistant to work with that coordinator who's expected to kind of be the quarterback guru for you. You spent your coaching money to bring in guys to up your offense. And the ceiling for a guy like Austin Simmons is something that Mizzou hasn't had in a long time, a guy that can heave the ball downfield and is just a difference maker. So it absolutely is on Austin Simmons to come in and change the trajectory because you lose Damon Wilson, which is a difference maker on the defensive side. You lost a lot of other guys, including Josiah Trotter, who's going into the draft. Your defense isn't expected to be elite next year. So when one side of the scale dips, the other one's going to have to go up. So if your offense isn't elite, you're not going to be a good team.
And you already had a great running game.
Yeah.
Like, there's very little room to go up from where you were last year in the running game. In fact, it's more likely that your running game gets worse next year than better. So where is that boost coming from? If your defense is going from great, maybe not elite, but great, to above average, and your running game, let's just say they remain at elite. They don't go another step up, but they just remain at elite, which is where they were last year. There's only one other spot. You were below average in the passing game last year, maybe even bad last year in the passing game. That needs to go from bad or below average to, at a minimum, good. And there's really one guy that you're pointing to that can make that possible, and it's Austin Simmons. So, again, I understand the idea that you don't want to put too much pressure on this young man's shoulders, and they shouldn't be saying this to him. But as outside evaluators of what Missouri football is going to be in 2026, it is very simple. It will go as far as Austin Simmons can carry them. That's it. He has got to be the dude. They've got to get the quarterback position correct, really, for the first time since like Brady Cook when he had all of the weapons around him. It's got to be at that level of offense or better this year. Otherwise, Missouri's not going to be as good as any of us had hoped. This portal season just has not gone as I think most Mizzou fans would have hoped. I think some of the panic is a little bit overstated because they did get their first option at quarterback this time around. Like, look at Tennessee. Who's playing quarterback for them next year?
I think they're now hoping for Joey Aguilar to get another waiver.
They brought in Bo Pribula, and he decided to go to
Virginia.
And I think that's a miss for Tennessee. Think about that for a second. Think about last year where Missouri was at the quarterback position. They were waiting on Mendoza, and then they eventually had to pivot and say, all right, Bo Pribula is our guy. This year, they didn't wait. They targeted Austin Simmons. He entered the portal with a do not contact tag, and 2 minutes later, it was basically reported he's going to Mizzou. So I will allege there was probably some level of tampering that took place, as there is at every program in the country.
We actually can't be upset about that because NCAA, there are no rules.
Correct.
It's Fight
They
Club.
did what they needed to do, and they got the guy they wanted. So Missouri very clearly identified Austin Simmons as the answer at the position. They've got to be right because they've whiffed on a bunch of defensive linemen. They've whiffed on all of their cornerback additions via the portal. They've missed on some of the wide receivers that they were potentially going after. This offseason is going to come down to whether or not they were right, once again, at the quarterback position. I have a lot more hope this time around than I did with Bo Pribula. Bo was more of a, we'll see. I hope, maybe, possibly. Austin Simmons, I'm excited about this. I think there's a real chance there is a huge ceiling to Austin Simmons. There's also a chance he is a turnover machine, and next year is the year that the floor falls out.
Oh, that would not be good.
It's possible.
And then in November, we can talk about how Drink can't win the big game or evaluate quarterback talent.
And next year, it will be incumbent upon them to go hit the portal in a way that they missed this year. That happens, man. In the new modern era, sometimes you just miss in an offseason and there's nothing you can do about it. South Carolina, look at the way that things went for them this year. That could be Mizzou next year. It is very realistic. You hope it's not the case, and the way that you avoid that is by Austin Simmons being the answer at the quarterback position.
Yeah, you can miss once in the portal, but if you miss twice, that's when things really get dicey for you. And that would be the hope that, one, you hope you don't miss. But if you do miss one season, you got to get it back on track. Otherwise, you know what the program gets known as? A losing program. And then it really gets hard to win in the transfer portal. I agree with you guys. Look, it is all on Simmons because of what we're talking about. He's the one guy that I look at outside of Ahmad Hardy and say, look at the ceiling on that guy. If you can get everything to work for him, he can be a guy that could potentially uplift some of these receivers that you have, even though you missed on some of your targets. Well, now it's time, instead of what we talked about, you mentioned Brady Cook. Brady Cook was uplifted by the offense around him. Even though he's a very good player, He was uplifted by the offense around him. Now they need the quarterback to uplift the offense around him.
Yeah, he needs to be. We've made this metaphor before. There are tractors and there are trailers when it comes to the quarterback position. Tractors will push the offense. Trailers will follow whatever the offense around them allows. I think Jared Goff is a trailer. He is a guy that you can win with him, but you're not necessarily going to win because of him.
100%.
Josh Allen is a tractor. You will win because of him in spite of everything that is around him. It does not matter. That guy is special. You've won mostly at Mizzou with trailers. A lot of the quarterback position, what they've had under Eli Drinkwitz, they've been carried by what's around them. Whatever is around them, they will be a mirror image of that. This offseason, the plan was for you to go out there and get somebody that can pull the rest of it forward. And we'll see if they were able to do that. You look across college football this year, there weren't very many of those guys. There were very few quarterbacks that really pushed their teams along outside of Fernando Mendoza, really. And next year, the hope is that Missouri can have one of those dudes. Look at Diego Pavia, what he was able to do at Vandy. That's what you're hoping Austin Simmons can do for Missouri's offense.
I'm just going to go out on a limb and say BK's whole 10-2 excitement from 2 weeks ago.
11-1.
Oh, sorry, 11-1. I thought I was shortchanging it there. I got a feeling it's not going to happen this year. I'm feeling 7-5, 6-6.
That's kind of where I'm at right now.
Oh, God.
Now, granted, I say that in Illinois, I'm feeling 4-8, so it could be worse.
I don't know. 6-6 feels like it's 4-8 for Mizzou.
They've got a tough schedule. 2027 is even tougher.
Because we're on it. Thanks.
We know better than that. That's a win.
And this portal just has not gone as I would have hoped.
Same.
Damon Wilson, by the way, it was reported yesterday, is asking for $3 million.
Well,
you know how many players you can get with that?
If you want mid-fringe level starters, 5.
Yeah.
Sorry, Damon. Yeah. Appreciate you, buddy. But
if you want a quarterback, like, for example, Missouri's quarterback, that's pretty much the price.
Yeah.
Quarterback, you got 2 quarterbacks.
They basically chose, my guess, would be between Simmons and Damon Wilson. Mm-hmm. And they chose Simmons.
They chose correct.
Yeah.
It's the right,
and
right
yet
way to
we're
going to
say that this season will not be dictated by Austin Simmons.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think, by the way, I don't think Damon Wilson's getting that from anybody. My guess is he's asking for that number to basically see, is anybody willing to meet this price? Because if not, I'll go to the NFL. But if you are, I'll stay in college for a year. I'll be a mercenary for you. I'll come rush the passer, coming off the edge, $3 million for 1 year. Let's do it. I'll continue to boost my NFL draft stock. It's good for me. It's good for you because I help your team.
Yeah.
And I get $3 million in the process. So it's good for everybody involved. But if nobody's willing to meet this price, I'll just go to the draft. I'll be a second, third round draft selection, and I'll go make my money there. That's my guess on the way that this thing's ultimately going to play out.
He's definitely called Lane, right? Lane, dude.
Yeah.
If
he's going to go somewhere, my guess is LSU.
I think didn't he start at Lane with LSU?
My guess is the 3 teams you'll see connected at some point to Damon Wilson are 4 teams. Miami, Texas Tech, Texas, LSU. Those will be the 4.
Alabama?
I forgot Tech with their billionaire. Yeah, he'll be involved. I was thinking Lane because Lane had a $7 million quarterback, and then he didn't because it turns out contracts actually are real. And then he got Levitt for probably 4. So I figured he's got $3 million just sitting around to hand out to somebody.
He's T-Bone. That's Alex. I'm BK. Better to forget it coming up next.
Alex Ferrario, BK with you. Underdog is the place to be for all of your NFL action, all of your NBA action. I know if you're like BK, you basically have spent the last 4 days over on the Underdog app. Why make it stop there? We got NHL action tonight, and you know I'm going over to the Underdog app to look at the games. First thing I do, 50% profit boost, BK.
Nice.
Click, and then I go to Blues and Hurricanes. So I've got your 4 picks on this, T-Bone. Listen up, because I'm trying to win you some money over here. Snuggerud, higher in shots on goal. Hofer, higher saves. Nathan Walker, higher on hits, and higher on Sebastian Aho points. All of that with that 50% profit boost, BK, 12-1 odds.
It's easy to use. The Underdog app is fantastic. Choose whether your favorite players are going higher or lower on stats in the NFL, like touchdowns, rushing yards, receptions, and so much more. If the NFL is not your thing, college football, they've got that for you. They've got NHL. Mizzou back in action tomorrow night against Auburn. If you want to put some higher or lowers on the Mizzou game, you can do that as well. It's all available for you on the Underdog app. Download it today. Use our promo code BKO. You'll score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. It's promo code BKO. Underdog. Make plays. Win money. Must be 18 or older. Present in Missouri. Terms do apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncbgambling.org. News in the NFL, the Chargers have fired offensive coordinator Greg Roman.
Okay.
What happened?
Can go out on a limb and say I saw that one coming.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
When Jim Harbaugh said, "So, like, are you gonna keep what's his name at OC?" And he
Greg
said, "I don't know."
You should probably fire the quarterback.
I don't have the answer for that right now. I think that's what he said.
Yeah,
should probably fire.
It was something where, like, the moment it came out, I was like, "Okay, so he's fired."
Fire the
Same with,
quarterback
like, when
next.
Detroit fired their offensive coordinator, it was like, "Huh." So when Dan Campbell took over play calling duties, like in week 10, that was a sign he's probably getting let go. Cool.
I will be very curious to see what Mike McDaniel wants to do, because he's going to have probably a head coaching opportunity if he wants it, but it's probably going to be for a pretty bad team. Or he will have some opportunities that exist this offseason to go be the offensive coordinator and the primary play caller on a team where he could have serious success. The Chargers are now open. Detroit has already brought him in to be a potential offensive coordinator there. I will be fascinated to see what direction he ultimately decides to go next year, because he's one of the best offensive minds in the NFL. Just a matter of what he decides to do. All right, 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line for Bet It or Forget It. Guys, Nolan Arenado is gone. He is headed to the desert. He will be the next third baseman for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Bet it or forget it. Brendan Donovan will be traded prior to this weekend's Cardinals winter warm-up.
I'll say bet it. I think it's between Donovan and Horner right now, and I don't know the appetite for the Cubs to trade Horner. It's going to take a very expensive deal, which I think teams resort back to the Cardinals. And if I'm one of those other teams that typically have their fan fest around this time, I need to get this deal done. So I'll say bet it. I think it happens on Friday.
I'm going to lean forget it just because it feels like these things take forever. I think the Cardinals ideally want to get this done before winter warm-up so Heim doesn't have to answer questions about it. But this thing continues to drag along at a snail's pace. And we saw reports like 3 weeks ago about, hey, Seattle, serious contenders for it. And guess who's still a Cardinal? Brendan Donovan. So I think this thing takes a little bit longer. I think they're waiting to see if Boston gets involved, mostly because Heim loves trading with Boston. And once they get involved, then he can go back to the other two teams and see if he can up the price on it.
I'll say bet it. I think it gets done before this weekend.
What day?
Friday.
Friday. Brendan Donovan's traded on Friday.
I think they want to get this thing done prior to the Lindenwood speaker series.
Well, you don't think Heim wants to answer any questions?
Friday night, right?
Yep. January 16th, I believe. Scheidegger Center.
I think it'll be done before
Home
then.
of the Alex Ferrario.
Watch Heim, because Ollie's with him, right? Watch Heim ditch him on stage to go make the trade.
Watch Ollie ditch
I've got some
him.
stuff to do.
Yeah. Wait, where'd you go, Heim?
Watch Ollie ditch
Trading
him.
your best player. Alex, what do you got for us?
Guys, bet it or forget it. Pavel Buchnevich will be traded this offseason.
I
We
would like
spent
to
so
bet
much
this.
time talking Thomas and Kyrou. Let's talk about the other
I don't
one.
know how. I don't know how you do this. Unless you are truly willing to retain 50% of the salary and you're doing so for, 6 years?
But
7 years?
What if he wants out?
good
Who's
for
taking him at $8 million?
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
I wouldn't. If I was another team, I'd say, go chase yourself. Why am I paying $8 million for a guy that's worth $5 million? So, yeah, I don't know how they get this done. There are just too many ways for this to go wrong. The money is a big blocking point. His willingness to go to certain markets is a potential roadblock, and any kind of a return is also a roadblock. So I'll say forget it. I don't think they can get it done.
Yeah, I would forget it as well. I don't see another team taking him, and I think BK brought up a good point. Like, how much are you willing to eat? Because I think that's what it comes down to.
I don't think
And potentially, and if not anything, then you have to attach a serious asset or two to get him off of the books. I don't see them moving him. I think it is definitely more likely they would move Kyrou or Thomas. Booch, I think you're just stuck with till this contract's up.
Sweep it. Forget it.
Guys, bet it or forget it. J.J. Weatherholt is the starting second baseman on opening day.
Bet it.
Bet it.
I think they're
man, make it
trading Brendan
easier.
Donovan. I just mentioned that. I think they will do so on Friday.
Manipulate the surface time.
And I don't know if it'll be second or third. I don't know where he's going to feel more comfortable.
Don't
but
they
he'll
get
be in the starting lineup on opening
Don't they
day.
get a first-round pick if he's there for opening day?
If he's rookie of the year.
Okay, well, he'll get rookie of the
He
year.
would likely put together, if he's as good as expected,
He's already
he'd likely put together the numbers.
I think
if
he's already a betting favorite.
I think he's up there.
I thought he was a
if
betting
not the
favorite when
actual
I saw.
favorite. Yeah.
I think he's top 5. I don't think he's the favorite. I would bet that he's here because I think they will potentially be chasing after that first-round pick or that extra pick that you're talking about for him to be rookie of the year. I could see him like starting second base and hitting like 6 for the Cardinals on opening day.
There's a Missouri special over on the FanDuel Sportsbook. J.J. Weatherholt to win NL Rookie of the Year plus 750. So my guess is that's not the favorite. They don't have the actual odds for all of the NL Rookie of the Year candidates, but plus 750 is probably like second, third, something like that. Top 3 to 4.
Yeah, probably. Who do you guys think's hitting leadoff for the Cardinals opening day? Is it Newport?
Win.
Although Newport may not be healthy. That's the
Mason
thing.
Win.
Win's a good answer.
Yeah, I could see that.
I know T-Bone won't like that answer, but it's probably the most likely.
He's your best player, right?
We're in a rebuild. I'm okay with wrong answers.
Victor Scott.
Paul Goldschmidt.
I know Victor Scott feels weird to do because he's not been a great player, but if you view that as his future, this is the kind of year where you can
See if he
see
can
what
put
it looks
together-
like.
We talked with, was it Jim Riggleman, the old Reds manager? Can he put together a Billy Hamilton type year? You don't even have to hit for a ton of average, but can you hit like 215 and bump up your on base by drawing a little bit more walks? And then you get on base and you could turn any walk into basically a double by stealing
Here's
with
a
his
follow-up
speed.
question. Who's your cleanup hitter?
Oh.
Burleson.
Who's your 3-hole hitter?
Carrera.
Who's your 2-hole hitter?
Gorman.
Oh.
Or Walker.
The reason I ask that is because if they want to do the left-right thing, which they typically do, that probably gets you to Mason Wynn as your leadoff hitter because then you can go Mason Wynn 1.
Burley 2.
I would say probably Weatherholt 2, Herrera 3, Burleson 4.
And Gorman would be 6. Who's the 5? Walker.
Sajasi.
Yeah, probably JC in that scenario.
And then Gorman 6.
Walker 7.
Walker 7.
Who we missed?
Newt 8. Scott
I
9.
don't know they'll hit Newt.
No,
that
not
low. I
Newt.
forgot
You
about
gotta
Newt.
have I was saying you got to have a catcher in there. I forgot Herrera's a catcher.
Something along those lines.
It feels like weather for baseball, but I
bad
gotta tell
lineup.
you, this is not getting me
I
excited.
mean, it's not good, but
That might
bad
be one of the
lineup.
worst lineups in
That
baseball. Let's not
lineup's winning
sugarcoat it.
Oh, compared to the Pirates?
Yeah.
No, I'd give the Cardinals the edge on the hitting.
from the
only two guys.
3-1-4, by the way,
Herrera's an MVP.
DraftKings has J.J. Weatherholt at 4-1 behind Nolan McLean, so don't bet him there. This is why you got to shop around. See who has the best odds. Find out where the best odds are, because like I mentioned, it's plus 750 over on FanDuel. If you do think J.J. Weatherholt's going to win NL Rookie of the Year next year, check all of the different sports books that are available.
I swore I saw him as a favorite somewhere.
Forget that shopping
options
around thing. Download that DraftKings Sportsbook app and use promo code Tanner. Don't
Always
listen
underdog.
to that guy.
All right, 314-399-9646. That's the Your Comfort Service text line for Bet It or Forget It. From the 314, Bet It or Forget It, Jim Montgomery will fire his coaching staff and hire his own this offseason. I could see something like that.
You know the crazy part? I thought about this the other day. Jim Montgomery has never hired his own coaching staff.
Really?
In Dallas, he took over and he just kept the staff in place and then obviously was fired the next year or stepped away with a leave of absence. Boston, it was the same coaching staff and stayed the same coaching staff until he was gone. So he's never had his own coaching staff.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Look, if this season continues to go down this path,
I wonder why that would be the case.
I mean,
My guess is he just starts and then he
Bo-
sees
Bo-
what they do behind the scenes, likes it, and
and
sticks with it.
Boston was a winning team at that time, so you're not going to change anything. Dallas is the one that, if I'm not
But
mistaken,
when it happens in 3 separate stops, that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I guess if you're a coach and you come in mid-season, which he did in Dallas and St. Louis, if I'm not
But
mistaken.
you can choose to switch it up in the offseason
Yeah.
if you want to. Most of the time,
But, I mean,
especially a guy that has his track record.
You got to the second round, game 7 in Dallas, so why would you change it? And then St. Louis, you were bad, but you made the playoffs. Why would you change it? Boston, you're not changing it because you were the best team in the season. With that all being said, if this season continues that direction, I do wonder if the Blues say, Steen taking over, Jim Montgomery having conversations, hey, maybe we need fresh faces on the bench. I hate that because I think Steve Ott is an incredible coach and people sit there and blame him for the power play struggles. But at some point, if it continues to look porous, you might need to make a change all over.
Yeah, I would bet it. I don't know that he'll get rid of everybody like that text said, but I could see where he makes 1 or 2 changes.
You're
to
not
that coaching
changing
staff.
Alexander, by the way. David Alexander
Yeah,
is
he'll
viewed as
stay.
the best goalie coach in the National Hockey League.
314-399-9646 is the Your Comfort Service text line for Bet It or Forget It. Guys, Bet It or Forget It, Arenado will retire as a Diamondback. Bet it. I think this is his last
You
contract.
think he's retiring this year?
I think he'll do 2 more years, and he'll
By the way,
retire.
if you want to entertain yourself a little bit, just go over to the Diamondbacks Twitter post and look at the comments on there. Fans are pretty excited.
Really?
No. That was sarcasm. They're not really excited. Somebody said, cool, enjoy him for 28 games.
I know BK is going to yell at me for this. They shouldn't be excited. It's not a big move. It's kind of a disappointing move.
It's
for
a Hall
team
of
that-
Famer.
You went from Alex Bregman. We could be in on Alex Bregman, to we got Arenado because the Cardinals ate most of his money.
Yeah. But
I don't think they were ever probably. I think the Bregman thing was always, if we trade Ketel Marte, we'll get Bregman.
I don't think you ever had a chance at Bregman.
I don't think so either.
I think Bregman was choosing one of those massive markets to go to. And
I don't think he was ever going to be there if Ketel Marte stayed.
yeah.
So this was their choice. They either make those moves and then get Bregman to replace Marte, and then maybe they still add Nolan Arenado, or they keep Ketel Marte, and now they've added Nolan Arenado.
Even better question, bet it or forget it, Nolan Arenado wears a Cardinals hat in his plaque at the Hall of Fame.
I think he'll
goes as
do
a
Rocky.
Yeah. Because that was where the best years of his career were. He only had, like BK said earlier,
but look,
one great
remember
year in
how it
St.
went.
Louis.
Remember how it went down.
Yeah,
I know,
if we're
but
being
as
honest, that was
time
more of
goes
Arenado.
away, yeah.
Which is why I don't think Nolan Arenado would want to wear
I think
it.
he now remembers it more fondly.
Yeah.
I think his time in St. Louis, and this is not to speak down to like the fans or anything like that, just the lack of success that the team had on the field, I think it makes you remember your time in Colorado more fondly. What's going to go down as your favorite Arenado memory?
like an individual moment.
Yep.
I think maybe didn't he homer in his first game
That's going to be my
as
favorite.
a Cardinal?
Mm-hmm. Which is ironic because it speaks to never got better than that.
Yeah.
That was the pinnacle. Because it was the Danny Mac call. Welcome to St. Louis, Nolan.
Yeah, and it was a bomb to the left like Big Mac.
And I don't even remember. I remember Paul Goldschmidt's first game in Milwaukee where he hit 2 home runs in the game and back-to-back at-bats.
Yeah.
I don't remember Nolan Arenado's one.
I'm trying to think. Like, I'm sure he did, but I can't think of like a big like, whoa, he did this in like a playoff race.
Like I think Albert Pujols' grand slam against Colorado when he came off of the bench in the 3rd inning. I think Goldschmidt, where, like I said, his first game against Milwaukee. Arenado, I remember defensive plays, but it's not like one stands out to me.
There were some pretty good defensive plays. Like I can remember him crashing into like the tarp over there at third base. He had one, I think it was against Tampa, if I remember correctly. A bunt gets down and he fields it, and like somehow like contorts his body and throws to third and gets the out, which was incredible.
I don't have a specific game memory. I just remember all of the defensive plays.
And 2022 was special. Him with Goldie.
But it didn't have a defining moment. Or if it did, it got wiped away by Pujols.
Yeah, Pujols' second half was the definning moment.
And I think won the MVP.
I think that's also something that I'll remember the Arenado era for is he was miscast as a leading role. He is a guy, like there are certain actors in Hollywood that are excellent in a supporting actor role. They're very much not the guy that you put on the poster, though, or the girl that you put on the poster. They're supporting actors, and that's Arenado. Arenado was miscast as a guy that was on the poster for the Cardinals as the #1 player on the team. He's a guy that, like, if he was on the Dodgers, if he was on the Phillies, if he was on the Yankees, I think he would have much more success and be better situated to have playoff success in that role because the pressure is not on him the same way that it is on others.
Yeah.
And that was not the case here. He was expected to be the dude in every possible way. He needed to carry the Cardinals, and he couldn't do it. And that's ultimately why we are where we are today.
The memories I have are going to be more about the inability to make plays in the playoffs than it is what you did in the regular season.
That's the Cardinal expectation. That's what he wanted, and he got it.
Goldschmidt.
And it didn't matter.
Yep. And it goes down as a failed era of Cardinals baseball.
Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll dive into the junk drawer. But next, is this where the blue season officially goes off the rails? We'll discuss it next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals have traded third baseman Nolan Arenado to the Arizona Diamondbacks as they send cash considerations to Arizona with Arenado. And in exchange, they've acquired right-handed pitcher Jack Martinez. And the Blues will be back in action tonight when they take on the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll have pregame coverage tonight starting at 5:30 with Alex Ferrario. Then puck drop at 6:30 with Chris Garber and Joey Vitale. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
Omaha!
No, it's a Blues segment.
Nah, that's coming up at 1 o'clock.
What the?
Yes.
You buying what the Diamondbacks are selling here, Alex?
Hell, I don't want to do this talk anymore. He's gone. We've moved on. We've turned the page.
What are they selling?
All right, Blues are in action tonight.
John Gambadaro,
Oh, geez, I'm not buying what he's selling.
longtime afternoon drive show host out in Phoenix. He does really good work. He also reports on the Arizona Cardinals.
He does really good work. Now I'm going to ish on him.
No, I believe he is hearing this from the Diamondbacks. I want your opinion on if you are buying it. Quote, there were several teams interested in acquiring Nolan Arenado.
Not buying it.
Not buying
But
it.
he had a full no trade clause and he wanted to be a Diamondback. So we waived the no trade to come here.
Yeah, nope, not buying it.
I'll buy that Arenado sold that to him and said, yeah, there's a bunch of teams, but I love Arizona because it's the perfect PR answer if you're a player. No, I think this was down to, if there were multiple teams, my guess was it was Diamondbacks, Angels, pick your poison. And he said, I'll go to Arizona.
That's my guess.
Yeah. I think there were like three teams, Angels, Diamondbacks, and then another non-important team. And then he said, at least the Diamondbacks
Pirates.
have a chance. Yeah, sure.
Throw the
Pirates.
Pirates in.
Rockies were in it again. Bring them home. He said, fine, I'll go to the team that's got the best shot at winning a World Series and then go to the Diamondbacks. Yeah, so congratulations on trying to polish that turd, but it's still Mr. Hanky.
I love the phrasing on this. Several teams interested. If that's true, Chaim Bloom for president.
Technically,
If he was able to get, quote unquote, several teams to buy into Nolan Arenado, I would love to see the presentation that he sold them.
I think it started with $31 million is what we're willing to do.
here's what this is going to look like.
And I think that's probably the only presentation he had in his PowerPoint slideshow.
I mean, he's a slightly below league average hitter at this point in his career. He's a well above league average defender. A little persnickety, I believe.
That's not a word.
Is the way that I would describe
Easy
him
over there, Bradford.
as an individual. He's 34 years old, going to be 35 this upcoming season.
And only getting worse from here, offensively, as you said.
Yeah, 2 years of club control, so you got his age 35 and 36 seasons. God bless. Godspeed. I hope it works out for him out in Arizona.
I thought you were going to tell me like he was selling like, this is a great trade for the Diamondbacks.
Somebody said slightly below average. He had an 87 OPS plus. That's slightly below average.
It's quite a bit, I define it as. I think your adjective was a little friendly over there.
Meanwhile, coming from the guy.
100 is league average. He was 87.
Meanwhile, coming from the guy who tries to tell us Mason Wynn's a superstar.
The years
that
before
guy was
that,
slightly below league average.
119, 151, 108, 102. I think slightly below average is fine.
Do you?
Yeah, I would say so.
Sure. Makes sense.
And well above league average defensively.
That's the thing that I worry about if you're Arizona. Because what was
The
it, 2
injuries.
years? Yeah, injuries. And 2 years ago, he wasn't that great defensively. Because I remember us having conversations about, boy, not only is he not hitting, but now his defense is taking a step back. And it improved this year.
But at least he has an elbow issue.
Yeah, he's only throwing across the diamond, the longest throw on the infield. Yeah, but that's the thing for me that like, when I say it, people would look at me weird, but I think his defense is taking a step back. Like he was a 1
felt like
point.
he improved.
I know, but I think that's probably a one-off. I think as he's getting older, I mean, if he's already losing the bat speed, his offensive skills are going down. That probably means his defensive skills are going to go down a little bit as well. Like I think there's a chance he is at like half a win above replacement next year, and that's just a sad ending to a Hall of Fame career for a guy in Nolan Arenado.
Yeah. I just saw this. I think this is a Red Sox fan. Let me see. I lost it. They basically said, Chaim Bloom was never the problem in Boston. Look at what's happened since he left. They traded away their franchise third baseman, thought they had an internal replacement, and then got cheap again when that third baseman, talking about Bregman, ultimately decided that he wanted to re-sign with the team. Chaim Bloom is now doing a good job of overhauling the roster in St. Louis. Does what's happened in Boston give you more hope or belief or faith in Chaim as a GM? Because, like, I think there were legitimate questions last year when you look at the way that Boston had their success and you say, all right, some of the core was, yes, built by Chaim Bloom, but also they supplemented it in a serious way by players that Breslow brought in. They got the number one starter that they lacked in Garrett Crochet, and they bring in Alex Bregman, who was, if not their best player, one of their best players last season as well. Now you see the ownership do with Breslow exactly what it did with Chaim Bloom, where they say, we're going cheap here. Bregman was awesome for us, sure, but we're not bringing him back. We're not willing to pay the extra $10 million is ultimately what it came down to, and potentially a no-trade clause. Does that give you more hope in Chaim, or does it not factor into at all how you view him?
I personally don't think the Red Sox stuff really factors in how I would view him, because I think he got a bad rap in the Red Sox because of the Mookie Betts stuff. And everything else was evaluated off of the Mookie Betts. I walked into this as a fresh start with Chaim Bloom, and I was giving him the benefit of doubt. Now, not even to do with what the Red Sox, what I've seen him do this offseason has given me more hope, because he's done something that John Mozeliak, at least from the outsider's perspective, refused to do, and ask for money so that they can move pieces out of the organization. So, yeah, I don't judge Chaim off of what happened in Boston, because I think of what happened in Boston was predicated around Mookie Betts.
Yeah, I don't look at much at his time in Boston to kind of make me feel any better or worse about where he's at here in St. Louis, because I think new ownership group, different circumstances, right? We don't know. We think ownership is going to give him the money to help kind of build this thing back up in a couple years if they end up getting this right in the sell-off this year and are good in 3 years or showing signs of being good. But maybe they don't, and then he's going to have to figure out how to do it on the cheaper side of things, like they did in Boston. And I think when it comes to him, like, you have to just see how he does in every avenue, right? Does he end up being right on these trades? Like Alex mentioned it, he's done a lot of things where he's given up money, or he's convinced ownership to give him money to send out to help get some better prospects in return. That's great if he's right. If he's wrong, he just gave away $31 million, So, like, yeah. I think it's that, and then it comes down to, okay, what's he do when he gets to free agency? If he does have that money, how does he spend it? Mo spent it on, like, that middle free agent tier where he consistently got it wrong. Guess who else did that, though, in Boston? Chaim Bloom did, because you know who got them on the Trevor Story contract? Chaim Bloom. So I think it just depends on how it all kind of plays out here over the next. That's why I think in this 5-year deal that he's got, I don't think you're going to get a great sense as to how he's doing or like the trend he's going towards until we get to about year 3 or 4.
Last baseball speculation to get here before we dive into the junk drawer on the other side. Ken Rosenthal is saying this everywhere. Quote, I wouldn't be surprised if it were this week, next week, sometime soon for Kyle Tucker to pick his team. There was a report earlier today. The Mets are offering, what was it, like 3 years, $120 million or something like that?
120 to 140 is what the report was.
So big AAV, shorter on the term, kind of similar to what we've seen Alex Bregman do. I think we saw this a few years ago where Chapman decided to take a shorter-term deal, Bellinger as well, where they take a couple of years, 2 to 3 years, but there's opt-outs after every season, so if they have the big year, they can go back to free agency. It seems like that's starting to bubble up as a possibility for Kyle Tucker as well, and the teams that seem to be most often connected to him are the Mets. Like Toronto is one that I've seen a lot, and the Dodgers is another that I've seen brought up. If you guys had to predict today where he ultimately signs, what would you go with?
Mets.
Dodgers.
That's where I'd go to.
I think I said this off air to one of you guys last week. I think it is stupid for these teams to be playing this. We'll do the short-term game, because if I'm going on a short-term deal, you know where I'm going? L.A. because I can go in, I can go hit sixth in the lineup and be this awesome complimentary piece and then get to the market and get paid again. Oh, by the way, they'll probably defer half my contract. So I think he's a Dodger. If these teams are going to flirt with this short-term contract idea, they're going to lose to L.A.
I think the Mets get desperate and throw a lot of money and a lot of years at him because they're trying to replace Pete Alonso.
I think it's the Mets or the Blue Jays. I think those are the two. Excuse me, the Dodgers or the Blue Jays. I think those are the two teams that I would believe in most to actually do what is necessary. I think if he goes long term, it's Toronto, and I think if he goes short term, it's with the LA Dodgers. I mean, if you're him, you're telling me I could go hit in that lineup where I'm probably hitting somewhere fifth, most likely. You're hitting between Will Smith and Max Muncy.
Mm-hmm.
That'll play. Yeah, I'll have a little bit of protection there. So they're going to pitch around Shohei, Mookie, Freddie, Will Smith.
They're going to load the bases for me.
And then here we are, and I've just got an opportunity to crush meatballs. Yeah, that sounds great. Love it. So I think he ultimately signs with one of those two teams. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we will talk about the Blues. Is this where the season officially goes off the rails unless there's more Cardinals news? But coming up next, the Jump Drawer here on 101 ESPN. With Alex and T-Bone on BK. T-Bone, what do you have for us today in the Junk Drawer?
Guys, if you had a sentimental stadium that you'd go to, for example, the Chiefs are moving.
Sure.
So when they tear down Arrowhead, is there anything that you would want from that stadium to kind of have memory of it, of like, this is my childhood.
One of my
right?
buddies from Busch 2 has, I think it's like 3 seats from
That's
the
cool.
stadium that they've got in their basement.
Yep. Curtis built his bar in his basement is some of the wood planks from the old arena, which
That's cool, too.
I'm so jealous of. I don't really have that, though. Like, it would be cool. But see, for me, I always went to Scott Trade Center and Savas Center. I never got to do the Keel or the arena. But, like, you know, if the Enterprise Center is ever torn down and they build another stadium, like the seats that my dad and I had season tickets in for like 10 years, that would be cool to have.
Out of curiosity,
Why did I bring this up?
no.
Oh, because there was a reason.
Genuinely asking, don't shoot the messenger here. Do you think Enterprise or Busch would reach that level for most people?
I think Enterprise would because of the Stanley Cup.
I think Busch would as well because they won the World Series twice
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
06 and 11.
Yeah, and I think for people that...
That's especially 11, the memories.
Yeah, and that's the same with the Stanley Cup. They didn't win it in St. Louis, but, you know, Game 7, Pat Maroon's goal, somebody's got memories there that mean something.
Okay.
Me, on the other hand, I ran down Market Street from Ballpark Village to make it in time for the first overtime.
It just seems like the reason that I ask that is because it seems like most of the arenas or stadiums that have that kind of symbolism for people are older. Like they have a longer history with them. So maybe 20, 30 years from now, when they're potentially replaced, they would meet that. But T-Bone, what did you bring this up for?
And the reason I brought this up was because I saw, of course, the Bills, they're no longer going to be playing at their stadium because they are moving into a new one, and they are starting to auction off stuff from Highmark Stadium.
Okay.
And one of the things they are auctioning, that's the reason I asked, of like, what would you take? Seats a good answer. Wooden planks to build a bar, great
I
answer.
know, Curves is I'm so jealous.
They are offering in an auction the urinal troughs from Highmark Stadium.
Disgusting.
That's amazing.
No one's buying that, right?
Well, I mean, if I could buy
Outside,
it,
like maybe a company that may need it for something
if
else.
my
but-
house is big enough to where I use urinals in, then yes, I'd like to get a urinal and put it in my bathroom and say that's
I
from
didn't
the Bills
realize that
Stadium.
they still use these. They use like the metal
Yeah,
urinal
the
stuff.
like in
old Trump.
Chicago?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think we need to bring these back.
No, you're stupid.
I'm serious.
Are you stupid?
Apparently.
All right, now I'm shooting
It
the
goes
messenger.
so much faster. It's so much faster.
What?
I'm about efficiency, man. Get in, get out.
I don't want to be
That's
standing
it.
right next to
Why
you.
does
Who
it work
cares?
faster?
What do you, because you can fit more people
Do you
shoulder
know how
to
many
shoulder.
urinals are at stadiums?
Yes.
An entire wall is filled with urinals.
Yeah, tell me about it.
It's
I've
the
got a
same
trout
thing.
that I can
That's
pee
the
into.
exact same thing as a wall full of urinals.
Great, let's put it on the wall.
If you want to save time, walk up to a dude who's using a urinal and use it
no,
next to
because
him.
there's space between urinals.
That's the same thing. If I'm going to use a
No.
trough, walk up and use the urinal that
these-
guy's using.
These are
so-
nasty.
To be,
I'm out.
Yeah,
just to be
This is
clear,
a terrible idea.
like you can have the argument that these are gross, and that's a more than
It's not
reasonable
even
argument.
those are gross. It's I don't want some dude looking at me while I'm sitting here.
Also a fine argument.
At least the urinal, I could like tuck it in.
I don't know if that
Can
would
you
work.
dump that? Dump that.
The thing with the there is literal space between them. Like there has to be. The way that you
but it's
construct
like
it.
this much space.
No, man, you've got a
No.
solid like 2 feet between the urinals.
Not in
we
a
should
stadium.
have somebody when you go to the stadium
Someone
tonight.
measure
Can
it.
you do me a favor? Take a picture of the urinals.
So
at
you think
the
I go
arena.
down to that level to go to the bathroom? I'm sorry that I'm on the air from an hour prior to puck drop, from hour to the
I
end
know
of the
where
game.
the media entrance is. You can walk out that door instead of going
I take
up.
the service elevator at the bottom.
Unbelievable. Just
got
walk
time.
out for a
Your
minute.
steps in.
Go around. You've got that spot right there with the urinals. Take a picture, and you'll see there's nobody there. You're there hours before the game. You'll see how much space is between the urinals. They are less efficient.
dumb.
We need to go back to the trout.
PK is the guy that starts a conversation at a urinal. He absolutely is, and I despise those individuals.
He's one of just
He's the
small
one
talk.
at the trough going, how about that Mahomes pass? That was hot, wasn't it? Don't talk to me while I'm using the bathroom.
There are a lot of people that agree with me here.
No, it's dumb.
I don't know the text line. I'm thinking that's a lie.
That's a dumb idea, man.
Somebody said, I once peed through the trout at Ferrario with my 3-month-old strapped to my chest. Father
I've
of the
done
year.
that before.
See?
Not father.
You
I've
get
done that
memories
before.
from the trout.
I've peed with a kid on my
Somebody
shoulders
else,
before.
you're drunk enough, it's normalized. Yeah, football games with the trout.
I guess that's true.
Yeah, that's the
I will
problem of
never
all of
forget
this.
going to Arrowhead. It was a rite of passage as like a 6-year-old. Dad looks at me and says, buddy, that's where you're going.
You're old enough for the trough.
Let's go.
That's borderline child abuse.
No, it's great.
No, it's disgusting. Let's all act like real human beings in society and use
I
urinals
actually
like
think
normal.
part of the downfall of our society as Americans
whatever.
First of all,
getting
why?
removal of the troughs has led
First of all-
to AI.
First of all, why does it take people so long at the urinals anyway? It should be the same amount of time in a urinal as it would be at a trough.
No, it's
Walk
not
up,
about that.
Unzip, pee,
It's
zip,
about the
walk
number
out.
of people that can go at the same time.
Again, I don't need to be shoulder to shoulder with you.
Why not?
That's disgusting.
Sure.
I don't want to be touching
BK.
another
It's a
individual.
shared experience at the game together.
Now I know
brother.
what locker rooms were like with you're a part of as well. I don't need to be my body should not be touching another individual while I am using the bathroom.
And I think that's great for you. You can go then to the stall.
I always use the stall. I'll wait so I can use the stall.
See, there you go. This doesn't affect you
That's
either way.
disgusting. No,
BK's
grow
gonna make
up, man.
BK's gonna make bathrooms great again. Okay.
I think they need to go back to the troughs like this, the one that's in Buffalo,
I
where they've
think
got the
you're ridiculous.
ice in it. Remember where they used to have the ice in there?
No.
Yeah, this is how we get. Oh, no, this is terrible, man.
You know, I regret bringing this,
This
up
is-
on the
this
junk
is-
drawer.
this
is
might
one
be-
of those things that you never want to learn about a friend.
This might
right?
be
This is
the
one of
dumbest
those.
idea you've ever had
Yeah,
on
see,
this
they
show.
used to have ice in the trough.
That's even nastier.
Used to be a thing.
Let's all be a civilized human breed and keep space between each other so we can use the bathroom properly. Let's
I'm
keep
saying.
sanitization
Yeah.
at the front of
I
mind.
mean, listen, if we're talking about
Can only imagine me using a trough and some guy being like, hey, sorry, man, I gotta go. Bumping into me while No. I'm going to get dumped on this segment. This is a terrible idea. This is disgusting. I want to use sanitizer
this sounds
now.
like a nightmare. Of
somebody
ours,
said
Ferrario.
Pete Blanco over on the text line. We used to keep the ice in the
Pete Blanco?
sinks. Pele Blanco. I'm going fast here. We used to keep ice in the sinks at the old arena because there were so few urinals. Oh, no, sorry. We used to pee in the sinks at the old arena because there were so few urinals. That's disgusting.
Someone said Alex would be the first one out in a zombie apocalypse. Are you kidding me? I'd be the
No,
last one up. These guys would be dead in a heartbeat.
No way.
I'm telling you, I think that we need to go back to the troughs, and a lot of things in this country would be better.
You didn't even pronounce
Make
it correctly.
bathrooms great again.
It's troughs.
There should not be any
not
type of
troughs.
body. There should not be a type of body touching another person's body while they're using the bathroom.
I thought this was going to go quick. I didn't realize BK was going to be so opinionated.
I didn't know he was going to come up with the dumbest idea
Now
on
we're
BK
way
and
off clock.
Ferrario.
Well, what are you going to do?
We'll make it up later.
Coming up next, is this where the blue season goes off the rails? Good news, Alex. We're no longer off clock because this will go quick. You're on 101 ESPN.
Omaha! You gotta be kidding me.
If I just
Come
keep
on, man.
teasing that we're going to talk about the Blues, do we keep getting breaking news? Is that how
I
this
hope
works?
so. It's kind of fun.
Big news in the NFL in all seriousness. After a historic 19-season run in Pittsburgh, Mike Tomlin has informed his team that he will be stepping down as the Steelers head coach. The Steelers will be looking for their fourth head coach since 1969.
Jeez.
That is not a misprint. In the last 56 years, they have had 4 head coaches in Pittsburgh. This gets to what we were talking about off air, and I'll go ahead and bring it on air. This job, if you're exclusively looking at it through the lens of what the team will be in 2026, I don't think it's a very good job. If you're willing to look more big picture, it is a potentially great job. Think about the amount of runway that Mike Tomlin had. He was not fired, by the way. It is important to note. He steps down. Now, that he maybe was going to be fired, and they said, Mike, do you want to go do this on your terms?
I think this was mutual respect for Mike Tomlin's time.
Absolutely. He's earned that based upon his history in Pittsburgh, but that doesn't happen in many places. John Harbaugh didn't get that. No. John Harbaugh got, you need to go. You're out. You're done here. Tomlin, because of the respect that Steeler organization has for his tenure there, which arguably wasn't as good in the last decade, honestly, inarguably, as John Harbaugh's, they said, how do you want to do this? He's stepping down. So in that way, I think this is a potentially great job if you're a head coach. You have ultimate job security. You will have the opportunity to build this team in your image. And I think everybody in Pittsburgh, much like here in St. Louis, they're smart fans, and they understand what needs to happen next. They know there's probably going to have to be some pain before they get to the other side of getting the fruits of that labor, so to speak. So I don't know who that candidate is that they would want to go after. They typically, Mike Tomlin was not a traditional hire. Mm-hmm. That was not a guy that he was like banging down the door as this huge candidate as a head coaching option. I don't know which direction they will decide to go. He was young at the time. He was the defensive coordinator for 1 season with the Minnesota Vikings and then took over as the head coach for the Steelers. So I don't know what they'll do, but I think this, if you're the right coach, is an excellent opportunity.
Yeah,
maybe number 1 on the market.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, if I can go to a team that ownership's got my back and they're going to give me the proper runway because they know that the roster is probably in shambles, this isn't a 2 or 3 year fix. This is hey, you're going to be here for a while, and then we'll address this like 5, 6, hell, maybe 10 years. The first name that came to mind, because I'm thinking like the Steelers' identity, they're heavy, they're physical, their defense. I wonder if Brian Flores takes this job.
That's the name that came to mind for me, too.
I saw something that said he was doing an interview with the Commanders for their defensive coordinator. I think anybody that's hiring Brian Flores is as a defensive coordinator because of, obviously, the past with the quarterbacks. I wonder if the Steelers look at this and say, this is the identity we want to keep moving forward with the Steelers.
I could see it. The downside, the Rooney family is very tight with the NFL. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he had that lawsuit against the NFL, I don't think they're the organization that would give him that opportunity. That's my guess. I would think that would be more likely to happen from like the Raiders, for example. They don't give a bleep about whether or not in fact, they have had lawsuits against the NFL. So they certainly do not care about that stuff. I don't know that would necessarily, I think, in terms of the style of play, he makes all the sense in the world for Pittsburgh. But some of the stuff that comes along with it, maybe not. Like, I don't think that's a Mike McDaniel spot. He doesn't fit the ethos of Pittsburgh.
No.
That doesn't make sense for me.
I don't think
I don't think so. I don't think they want the Cleveland cast-off. I do wonder about Harbaugh.
Well. Yeah,
I do wonder about
Harbaugh. I don't want that, though.
Can I throw one your way?
You just did, Harbaugh, and I told you no. You just played pickleball, and I swatted it back in your face.
Can I give you a man that is from Pittsburgh? That is the ultimate winner.
Ben Roethlisberger.
Every place that he's ever been, he has won. He developed quarterbacks.
This is going to be Curt Cignetti.
Curt Cignetti.
No.
I think this job's awful, by the way.
Yeah. Like, it's fun, job security-wise.
You're looking at it too short term.
No, I think even if you admit they're going into a rebuild, which they probably are, I think you get the runway that Tomlin had and the respect inside the organization that Tomlin had because he won early on. And I think for a new coach, yes, I think that organization is smart. Yes, they will give that head coach time. They're in quarterback hell, man. They're in quarterback purgatory. And if you don't have a guy like Mike Tomlin, you're probably ending up losing seasons consistently. I think you're looking at like a long-term, they lose like 4 straight seasons, that coach is out. If I'm another candidate, I do not want this job.
I think that is looking far too short-sighted.
I think you have to look at short-sighted in the NFL, man.
Not in that job.
I think so. I think Tomlin was special, man. I think Tomlin was a special kind of coach.
They've done this, though. It's been almost 60 years that they've done this. They've operated this same way for nearly 60 years.
It got them stuck in the middle.
They've been one of the best franchises in NFL history. What do you mean? Look at what's
got them recently. They've been stuck, and now they're moving on. I think this is a terrible job. Okay. Terrible job.
I couldn't disagree more. And I think it's about whether you look at it from the short-term perspective or the long-term perspective. I do think there will be runway that is given here. And this is a proud franchise, a proud organization with a huge fan base. They put resources into the team. And if you get the quarterback position right, not an easy thing to do, but if you get the quarterback position right, you could be the head coach for the Steelers for the next 10-plus years. In fact, that is the expectation when you get this job because nobody has held it for shorter than that in the entire history of the organization. So I think this is an excellent job. And when you look at the other opportunities that exist right now, man, what's the great job that's out there?
That's where I was going to go. I don't think this is a terrible job compared to what's out there. I think this is the best job with the exception of the Ravens because they've got a quarterback in place that's out there because of the job security. The hard part is I don't know if this is an ideal job for a guy like Curt Cignetti, who you're going to have to lose for a few years before you start winning, where you're winning now. This is the perfect job for a young coordinator that can go in and establish the identity of the team because it's going to hit rock bottom in a year and then it's going to build itself back up because I've got the runway to do it.
Somebody on the text line brought up Marcus Freeman. This is the kind of job that would actually make sense for him. He's 40 years old. He could be there for the next 15 years. He jumps to the NFL with an organization that is the right team. This is kind of, honestly, what we saw from Brad Stevens. Stevens was at a very comfortable situation with Butler, and he wasn't going to go for the other big-time programs. He wanted the perfect job. He was waiting for, like, Duke or North Carolina or Kansas to open up. And then the Celtics came open. And that's the kind of job that you can't turn down. The Pittsburgh Steelers are one of those teams where if they come calling and they say, we want you to be our next head coach, it's really hard to turn that job down. That's different than most of the other jobs around the league. This is not the Cowboys who recycle a head coach every 3 years. Yeah, you get to be the coach of the Cowboys, but you're going to be fired. At Notre Dame, he's got job security there. He's from Ohio, so it's not too far from, originally where he's from. That's the kind of gig that I could see maybe Marcus Freeman leaving for.
I don't know how, you're winning at Notre Dame, but it's not Curt Cignetti winning to where you are the elite of the elite. So, yeah, I agree with that one. Because wasn't Liam Cohen, wasn't he a coordinator before he took the job in Jacksonville? Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. You're going for somebody like that young, where you could bring him in and tell him, look, you're not getting fired. This is going to be bad. Do what you need to do. You've got control. You're not going anywhere.
Are there any NFL assistants that you look at and you say, slam dunk, got to have that guy?
I think it's got to be a defensive mind, right? Like, isn't that the identity of the Steelers? Unless you're going to change the identity, but that's hard to do if you're a fan base that expects one thing.
Yeah, I think Steeler football is what it is. And I think physical, hard-nosed, play with effort, like that stuff is a non-negotiable. Mm-hmm. That's why I don't think Mike McDaniel makes sense there. I don't think his offense in that city with that fan base, given the way that they have won for 50 years there, I don't think he's a fit. But I do think, like Nathan Shieldhouse, T-Bone, you're familiar with him from his time at Illinois. He is the passing game coordinator right now for the LA Rams. That offense is at least built upon the running game as a foundational element of what they do. He is a hot commodity right now on the offensive coordinator list. As I mentioned previously, Mike Tomlin was not a guy that had a lot of opportunities as a coordinator prior to taking over as the head coach. He was seen as a leader of men. Maybe that's the kind of thing they do, where they skip the coordinator status and they just immediately go to the guy that they think is the next hot candidate. Yeah. Davis Webb is a former NFL quarterback. He's now the quarterback's coach with the Denver Broncos. He's a hot coordinator candidate this offseason. Do they decide, you know what, we don't love any of these options that are out there right now. Let's go get the guy that we think is going to be a special head coach. We're going to go hire Davis Webb. Like, those are the kinds of things that with this organization, I could see them going down that path.
What about Robert Saleh?
Maybe.
46.
I think he's better head coach than he's given credit for from his time in New York, because it was New York.
That's why I'm wondering. And you were a part of a team that defensively was very good this year, despite all of the injuries that they went through.
Somebody said Phillip Rivers. Can you imagine?
Oh, God. Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean,
just takes over the coaching job.
Security.
This is one of those jobs where I don't know what they're going to do, man. It's not a great list of candidates. It's really not. Like, if LaFleur becomes available, that's the guy I hire. I would just immediately turn my attention to him.
See, I think LaFleur would rather have like Baltimore, because he's got the quarterback in place he can win now.
Yeah. That's the hard part, too. You got to get a guy who doesn't have experience, that doesn't care about winning right away.
How many coaches are thinking long term? I don't think many are.
That's actually why I think Marcus Freeman would make the most sense.
I think coaches that have options think long term. I think coaches that don't have options think about getting the job.
Are you thinking about Pete Carroll?
Sure, yeah. Like, Pete accepted a job that he was doomed from day one. And he didn't have any other option. He just wanted to get back into being a head coach, and that was his one chance to do so. If you are somebody, like when Kyle Shanahan had multiple options, he went with the one that he thought had the most stability. He went basically to ownership. Ownership is what mattered to him. And I think it is the thing that is most underrated in the NFL when it comes to coaching jobs, is what your ownership is going to be. Arizona, wouldn't take the job. Flat out wouldn't take the job. If I was a hot commodity, that's not a job I would be interested in. Dallas, I'm not all that interested in that job. You can win potentially, and if you do, you're a hero. But if you don't win in 3 years, done. Game over. There are certain jobs that just are not worth the squeeze.
I've got the name, and I can't believe I didn't think of it. Eli Drinkwitz.
Definitely, he can't win the big game.
Is there anybody else? Pittsburgh.
Is there anybody else at the collegiate level that you think would make sense for Pittsburgh?
With Sark? I think Sark's too much of a mess to
Ryan Day
to do it. He was connecting the NFL. That's why I brought him up.
Lane Kiffin.
Man, that would be amazing. He would be the worst fit in Pittsburgh.
LSU to bounce to Pittsburgh. I think Marcus Freeman's the best one.
I think he's the guy.
Yeah, because I can't really think anybody else that really makes
Brett
sense
Bielema.
to go over there. No. Oh, well, no.
Did you say well?
He's under Bill Belichick. Like, he's got some NFL roots.
Dude. Matt Campbell has a chance to do the funniest thing possible.
I don't think he's an NFL guy either, but that would be something.
Can you imagine? He takes the Penn State job. He finally leaves Iowa State. And then after 2 months, he's gone.
That's what would make it so funny about the Notre Dame one with Freeman, because he just announced he signed a contract extension.
By the way, they have like 2 guys that have committed via the portal. It's been a weird transfer portal season for Notre Dame. But the big news in the NFL, I'm sure Kerry Davis will break this thing down for you guys as they get into it.
That's their next head coach, CD.
Kerry Davis.
I root for that. Big news in the NFL as Mike Tomlin has officially announced he will be stepping down as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK.
Dan Blues talk on the other side.
Coming up next, we'll give you the best 2 minutes you've ever heard on why the Blues season is about to go off the rails here on 101 ESPN. New report from Robert Murray. The Mets have offered $50 million per season on a short-term contract for Kyle Tucker.
Omaha! Changing things up. There go the Blues again.
I'm gonna go to the fitness center early if that's cool with you guys. Head on that way.
Okay, you should stick to your New Year's resolution.
3 of the 4 teams in the AFC
Twice a
North
week.
now have a head coaching vacancy. The only one that doesn't is the team that probably should, in the Cincinnati Bengals.
Ouch.
Set your burner.
That's crazy. They had the worst coach in the division this year. I'm pretty confident in that, and they're the one that kept him. Like Stefanski, better. Harbaugh, Tomlin, come on. Not even close.
I think you're being a little cruel to Zach Taylor.
Am I?
He's
Yeah,
still
you
a
are.
decent coach.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The team
Based upon what?
He still has a job.
took your Chiefs down.
Okay, congratulations for working for the Bengals, who are too cheap to fire you.
Took your Chiefs team down.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
When they were healthy. They've just been banged up, man.
How many Super Bowls have the Chiefs been to since then, and how many times have the Bengals made it to the playoffs?
Well, I mean, when you
since
get
then?
officiating help like the Chiefs do, it's a little
saying.
easier.
Joe Burrow could have the luxury of the officials saying,
I
hey,
could get
don't
that
touch
guy,
the
yeah.
quarterback.
You get that kind
Also,
of protection.
why should I blame Zach Taylor for an organization that doesn't know how to put a good roster together? Stop
guys are the
paying
worst.
wide receivers. Start paying some linemen.
You guys
Should
are
have never
absolute
drafted
worst.
Jamar Chase. Should have drafted an
All right,
offensive
well,
tackle.
I'm not going to go that crazy on what I'm going to say about the Bengals.
Jamar
What's
Chase
Jamar
thing.
Chase done?
He's a stud.
Oh, yeah? How's that stud treated you?
Hey, somebody else on Twitter said the Steelers should hire Curt Cignetti. I'm not alone. That's the route that I would go in. All
Sure, the
seriousness.
Steelers
I
would love to hire Curt Cignetti. If I'm Curt Cignetti, I'm not
old.
taking that job.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm a legend in Indiana,
was-
and I'm always going to be the best for the next 5
If he
years.
wins the national title, though, what is there left to chase at Indiana? I'm actually
if we're
being
talking
serious.
job security in Pittsburgh, why would I be talking job security in Indiana?
Sure, it exists there. I'm not.
And I'm getting
not
paid
disputing
more
that.
there.
I don't know. I mean, you can make $20 million a year as an NFL head coach. That's what John Harbaugh's ask
You
is.
could make $20 million in college football these days.
Nobody's making 20. Nobody's making that much. The top, I think, is like 15.
And I think that's Kirby.
So you can get an extra $5 to $7 million a year potentially as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Give yourself 5 years to be the coach there. If you win the title here, again, you have won at every level you've ever been at, and there's one level that you have not tested yet. I think I'm convincing T-Bone. All right, Alex,
You're not going to win at that level. You act like you're going to win. You act like you're going to win a Super Bowl in 3 years in Pittsburgh.
Don't you put words in my mouth.
I say we take a break and come back on the other side because this is just some trash takes over here.
T-Bone was nodding off. I was like, all right, this is it. I got him.
I was listening, and all of a sudden all I heard was, yeah, Tanner's on my side.
T-Bone.
What? No, I'm not.
T-Bone, why are you nodding off
He's
over there?
64 or something.
BK's over here acting like you're going to win in 3 years in Pittsburgh.
You could.
No, you can't. Who's your quarterback?
I don't know. Who was the New England Patriots quarterback 3 years ago?
They didn't win. Am I confused?
It was
Didn't.
Mac
And now
Jones.
3 years later, they are one of the favorites to go to the Super Bowl.
But they drafted Mac Jones because they didn't have a quarterback, and then they
Correct.
stunk
Sure,
for
but
3
I
years to
wouldn't-
draft
the
Mac
Steelers
Jones
don't
again.
have a quarterback, and if they have one bad season next year, they could get their quarterback in the following draft.
Yeah, but if I'm Curt Cignetti, why would I want to take a job where I'm going to be bad for 1 year and then still be bad probably
Because
the
if I
following
get
year?
that quarterback, I have trust in my own abilities that the next year I could go to the Super Bowl. I'm serious. Like, the Jaguars have been terrible. They got the right coach to be paired with the quarterback, and this year they went 13-4. The Denver Broncos drafted Bo Nix, and this year, 2 years later,
they're not going anywhere.
14-3 with a chance to win the Super Bowl this year. I don't believe in them, but they could absolutely win the Super Bowl this year.
The tough part, though, like some of those teams that you just brought up, like even Denver, for example, had some pieces around
and their
already.
defense was elite.
Yeah, they don't, like, what am I pointing to as, like, at least the Steelers
defense
have
is
this.
good.
Yeah, but they're going to
It's
trade
not-
away
it's fallen
T.J.
off,
Watt, I would
though, right?
imagine.
Like, Watt's getting older. Jalen Ramsey somehow still playing football. He's so old he's been moved to safety now. Like, I look at that roster. It's not just the quarterback. Yes, the quarterback is the number one driving point of our conversation. But to me, it's the entire roster. That entire roster needs an overhaul, and that's where I think this takes longer. Yes, maybe they get the quarterback right. Then you got to build around the quarterback. Like, this is a 5 to 7 year project in Pittsburgh.
T-Bone.
Dude, there's no such thing as a 5 to 7 year project in the
Have you
NFL.
seen Cleveland? It's a 25-year project.
Yeah, because
about
of bad
Carolina?
ownership. That's why I'm bringing up
I
the
think it's
ownership
taken a
side of
while.
things. It takes a while because the ownership continues to flip the plan. If you are committed to this, if you have good ownership, like look at the teams that are consistently bad in the league. They're always bad because they have terrible ownership. The Jets, the Browns, the Bengals, the Titans, the Raiders. These are teams that are consistently at the bottom of the barrel. The Cardinals. They're at the bottom of the barrel every year because they never commit to a plan and they just keep changing things over and over and over again. The Steelers are the opposite of that. They have excellent ownership, which allows them to stick to a plan, and then they can potentially pay it off on the other side. Now, their plan, I think, was flawed. I was
gonna say.
And I think that was Mike Tomlin's plan. Tomlin did not want them to go below 500, and so he kept getting a stopgap at the quarterback position. If you have somebody that comes in and sells a plan to ownership, we need to be bad for 1 year. 1 year, and let me get my quarterback in here. We got to draft him, though. That's the only way we're going to be able to do this thing. And if you draft to the right guy, we could be the next Patriots. We could be the next Broncos. Look at the other teams that are having success in our league right now. They all did this plan. And that's all you got to do. 1 year of pain.
But the Patriots got Drake May. You got to hope you get the quarterback. The Broncos, as Tebow mentioned, they built the defense. If you want to go the 1 year they got the quarterback, Cam Ward in Tennessee, you think that's going to turn around next year?
It might if they get the right
that
pieces
roster
in place around
it
him,
is
maybe.
bad. And that's a big thing to ask, to try and put an entire roster around one guy.
But we've seen this. It happens overnight. The Washington Commanders last year, they did not have a good roster. We all agreed on that. They went to the NFC Championship game because they got the quarterback position correct.
Yeah, but
it took one guy to unlock the rest of the roster.
But again, you have to hope that right guy's there. And we talk about how the quarterback field is now, and does it feel like the quarterback class is going to be moving forward?
I think Arch Manning showed me some stuff at the end of this year where I think he could be that guy. I absolutely believe that he could be the next guy that changes a team's franchise.
And I'm not disagreeing with your. I believe this is probably the second most desirable job out there. I'm disagreeing on the Curt Cignetti front. I don't think that's a desirable job if I'm Curt Cignetti.
Coming up next, we'll talk about the Blues here on 101 ESPN.
Full segment, baby.
Tanner Hendrickson here, the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The big news in St. Louis today, the St. Louis Cardinals have traded their third baseman, Nolan Arenado, as he's on his way to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Cardinals also send cash in that deal for a right-handed pitching prospect. Big news in the NFL, Mike Tomlin has stepped down as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Blues will be back in action tonight as they take on the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 5:30 with Alex Ferrario, puck drop at 6:30 with Chris Kerber and Joey Vitale. The Sports Update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
Alex, Tion Gray, defensive lineman in the transfer portal, St. Louis native, played for Kerry Davis at Hazelwood Central, was at Oregon this year, has entered the transfer portal, and he, according to 24/7 Sports, has locked in his first visit. He will be visiting Notre Dame for the first time. He will then choose between Clemson, Nebraska, Cal, and Mizzou for the other visit. He's got those four teams that he's going to whittle it down to one other visit. Notre Dame or one of those four will be his next destination, according to his agent. Mizzou very much in need of a defensive lineman. He would be high on my list of the available players that are still out there, so fingers crossed Mizzou can get him on campus.
Look, man, you can't hurt me anymore. You're just hurting the listeners.
Can I pass along a quote from the Baltimore Ravens owner who was in a press conference when Mike Tomlin news broke?
Sure.
He was asked about it. Could you see Mike Tomlin as a head coach candidate for the Ravens? Quote, holy bleep. Wouldn't that be awesome? Only if John takes the Pittsburgh job, though. End quote.
I mean, both of those guys would make sense for the other team. That's the irony here is, yeah, that sounds right.
I think Tomlin's going to television.
I do too.
I think that's where the big money's at. And he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go get paid to be on TV. Can I pass along a text message?
Please.
One thing you guys keep forgetting about the Steelers' head coaching position is how exclusive it is. They've had 3 coaches over the last 40-plus years. Top coaches are going to want that.
We should have mentioned that. Blues back in action this evening against the Carolina Hurricanes. It is a game that is on Hulu, so if you want the local coverage of this game, you can only find it right here on 101 ESPN. Alex will have pregame coverage starting at 6:30. Puck drop for this one pregame starting at 5:30. Early one. Puck drop at 6:30 right here on 101 ESPN. Alex, the schedule is unforgiving, and the Blues are going to do this without potentially some of their best players. Robert Thomas expected to miss tonight. Broberg in concussion protocol. It's not looking good. Carolina tonight, they've been great this year. Tampa on, what, a 10-game winning streak right now? Is that right?
Yep.
They are on Friday night. Then you turn around and you go on the West Coast Canadian trip with Edmonton and Winnipeg. And then you have Dallas on the road. You come home. You got L.A., Dallas, Florida to finish things off. Is this where things really go sideways?
I think so. I think this is where things really distance themselves. In my opinion, looking at the rest of January, unless something crazy happens, I think you've got maybe 2 wins in you. Just off of the product that I've seen from this team. Now, they could surprise all of us and play like they did versus Vegas and Montreal, but I don't expect that without Thomas or Broberg. But Carolina and Tampa, that is going to be you are severely outmatched in that one. The Edmonton Oilers, I guess on paper, you could look at it and say they're underperforming. I think man-to-man defense that this Blues team plays, Edmonton will exploit that. You've got Winnipeg, who you can pounce on because they're kind of a underperforming team. Same can be said about the LA Kings, who are right on par with you. But with that, Dallas twice, Florida, Columbus just fired their coach to bring in a guy that could help them win. Yeah, I think this is where the standings start to distance themselves and reality sets in for where the Blues are at.
I agree. I think you've already started to see that. Like, I think these last 3 games, you've started to see them really start to fall down in the pecking order. I mean, they went from being, I think it was 2 points out last week when we were having a conversation about them, to now you look up and they're 6 out, right? And that's what a losing streak will do in this tightly compact Western Conference. And I don't see things getting any better. I mean, they've got the injury issues that they're dealing with again, with Broberg potentially being out. Who knows how many games he misses? Who knows how many games Robert Thomas misses? yeah, this is about that time where it looks like you're going to see one of those like 5-6 game losing streaks, and that's enough to just put you completely out of this Western Conference race. And definitely, I think they're already leaning this way, if we're being honest, but definitely to find yourself as a seller for the trade deadline.
Tankathon.com/NHL. Blues right now 3rd overall in the draft.
And I think the teams that right now,
Hit that sim button.
the only ones, hit that sim. Where's it put them? I did it 4th. I was gonna say, I did it once and it moves them down. It's damn draft lottery. My
3.
tinfoil is they'll give the Blues. How many?
2.
I like 2. How many till 1?
We'll find out.
How many keep going? 7? 8?
Nashville just got the number 1 pick.
How in the bleep did that?
Oh, number 1. Woo! Nashville,
Yahtzee.
excuse me. St. Louis 1, Chicago 2.
Damn. What I think is funny, you guys know Ottawa forfeited their first-round pick this year. They had 3 years
They
to
had
decide.
the number 1 overall pick here just a second ago.
I hope they get the number 1 overall pick and the Blues get 2, and they have it forfeited.
That would be amazing.
Just would be golden. But in all reality, Western Conference, like the 3 teams that are going to be jockeying for this the rest of the way: Calgary, the Blues, Vancouver. Calgary's going to be selling off pieces. The Blues, Vancouver. Winnipeg's going to pull themselves out of this. Chicago's going to start winning some more. Anaheim, Nashville, for some reason, is going to be a buyer, which I don't get. And then you got the Ottawa Senators and all of their disasters. It's you and 4 other teams, which I think we talked about this with Craig Button. Just keeping an eye on all of this because it feels like this is the season that it's going. You want to be a top 5 team. If you're going for a good player in the draft, you need to be a top 5 team.
Top 2 ideally. Darren Drager was on the Barn Burner show saying Robert Thomas's name has been out there on the trade front, but why is it out there again more recently? It's because Doug Armstrong has got the bait on the end of the line. He's fishing for a return that includes probably a couple of prospects or a high draft selection. Find that interesting. It seems as though we've heard Robert Thomas's name in the trade discussion rumor mill more than I expected at this point in the season. I'll probably try to reach out to Darren Drager, see if we can get him on the show sooner rather than later. But that's your latest update on the Blues as we continue to get closer and closer to the roster freeze, which might serve as some kind of a deadline across the NHL.
Yeah, I still believe you're not going to see any moves happen until the trade deadline or right before the deadline. I don't think you see anything pre-Olympics. I think the Doug's just going to let this thing play itself out and then let everyone bid over the players that they have.
Pre-game coverage for Blues versus the Carolina Hurricanes tonight begins at 5:30. An early one with Alex Ferrario right here on 101 ESPN. We'll hit the rewind coming up next here on BK and Ferrario. Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK. A lot of news today here on BK and Ferrario. If you missed any of our reaction to it, check it out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com. The free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. It's all sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
Alex, let's go kind of in chronological order of what we saw. Let's start out with the game from last night. The Texans win, Steelers lose. We now know that Mike Tomlin has stepped away. It seems as though that was probably the last time that we'll see Aaron Rodgers on the football field as well. We've talked a lot of Steelers in the last 30 minutes. What did we learn last night about the Texans, if anything?
That their defense is going to be the sole reason they could get to the Super Bowl. C.J. Stroud ain't it, nor is the offense, and depending on not having Nico Collins, that's going to be a massive blow to them. But I think their defense can beat the Patriots, and they can get as far as the AFC Championship game, in my opinion, because I don't think their defense can stop the way that Josh Allen's playing if he gets there. So I kind of was confirmed with what I thought about the Texans. Their offense was good enough to make one play, but their defense is what will lead them to the promised land.
T-Bone, big Cardinals news as they have traded Nolan Arenado to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Lots of money involved in this deal. The Cardinals in return get an 8th-round selection from last year, Jack Martinez, big right-handed pitcher with a mid-90s fastball. He's a project, but you got something in return, which is more than I expected. What was your reaction when you saw the news today?
Yeah, I was surprised at first to see that they were able to move on from Arenado, because I was one that was skeptical that they'd get a deal done, but I like the fact that they're able to move on, right? I mean, you didn't want to go through the awkward situation that they had last year where they tried all offseason long to trade him, and then he showed up to spring training. So, yeah, I'm surprised they got at least a project. He's at least interesting, right? Throws the ball hard, got some stuff to maybe potentially work with. So, yeah, I like the move for the Cardinals.
I like it as well. I'm curious to see what this means for Brendan Donovan's market. It seems as though the infield market is starting to move. There's been some updates today on Kyle Tucker. Maybe that happens sooner rather than later. If it does, maybe that leads to Bo Bichette. And ultimately, maybe prior to this weekend with the Cardinals winter warm-up, we get news on Brendan Donovan. I would expect a pretty significant return. The update today from Jeff Passan was that the Giants are aggressively pursuing a second base option, and one of those for them could be Brendan Donovan. Blues back in action this evening against the Carolina Hurricanes. Somebody on the text line really wanted an in-depth preview of that game. Alex Ferrario will have that for you coming up at 5:30 with a pregame show here on 101 ESPN. It's the only place where you'll be able to get a local coverage of that game. It is on Hulu and ESPN Plus today.
And I know you all don't have subscriptions, so just tune into 101 ESPN.
The TV side of things. We will be back with you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m. Again, if you missed anything from the show, you can check it out on YouTube at youtube.com/101ESPN-STL. You can check it out on the podcast page as well, 101ESPN.com, or the free 101 ESPN app. That app is presented by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 11 a.m. The Fast Lane has you covered next here on 101 ESPN.